guys ready?
I'm fine.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready? All right, I'd like to call this school committee business meeting to order. It is Wednesday, January 14th. Mrs. Yell, as she gets back to her seat, sorry, I should have looked up. Can you take the roll, please? I'm here.
Present. Kathleen Shaw.
Here.
Brianna Higgins.
Here.
Andrew Boulder.
Here.
Lauren Aramo.
Here.
John Ritchie.
Present. All right, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll now turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Walker.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Our first item on the agenda is public comment. We have one person signed up for public comment, Mr. Jor, and I'm just going to quickly read the public comment statement, but please feel free to come up to the podium here. Please keep to topics within the school committee's scope of authority. We encourage civility. Be mindful of the fact that this is a public meeting, which is being live streamed and recorded for all ages in our community. Please be aware that this is not an opportunity for discussion, and you will not receive a response at this time. You will have 2 minutes for your comment. Longer comments can be sent to the school committee email. So if you could just introduce yourself and your address. Thank you.
Bill Jor, 4 Jackson Street, Newburyport. My daughter has had no school placement, no education at all from Newburyport Public Schools since June of 2022. She has had no placement because she was being heard at our last school, and records confirmed the school district that was aware of it happening, and so we as her parents stepped in to bring her back to health. You did nothing and have chosen to do nothing since. Some officials have offered sympathy, meaningless. When elected officials stay silent, they endorse administration's refusal to educate our daughter, despite clear recommendations for a day placement only from her IEP team as well as medical professionals. Some of the community have told us that they're angry and shocked with the district. Many are afraid to speak publicly because they fear retaliation. If anyone claims the district has been, quote, working with us for years, that is not true. To provide her an education, instead, you have 3 law firms and 6 attorneys to fight our family while Nina receives no education whatsoever. You've stated that, quote, you are not obligated to provide Nina with an education, end quote. You have left her with 2 unacceptable options: a more restrictive, not recommended, extremely expensive residential placement far from home, or no education at all. We feel bullied into a residential placement which can cost the district over $250,000 a year, removing our daughter from her home and community. Imagine being told your child must leave home just to receive an education. And once again, during budget season, we hear the same old excuse. You're getting hammered by transportation and special education tuition increases. Maybe so, but that's a problem you created. You have cut in-district special education services for years and called it, quote, savings. Costs rise when you refuse to invest in your own programs and rely on unnecessary and costly residential placements and abandon your students. Bottom line, other students, including some of your children, have been allowed to progress from grade to grade and even graduating this year, while my daughter sits at home waiting for an education.
Thank you. And I don't see anyone on the Zoom for public comment. Did anyone arrive that did not get a chance to sign in? Okay. All right, that's the end of public comment. We'll move on to the warrant. We have a warrant in the that you all were emailed. I just realized we weren't prepared. We didn't prepare a statement, but Mr. Broger, are you prepared to make a statement?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, make a motion.
I move that the following named bills of the Newburyport Public Schools amounting in the aggregate $785,585.07 be approved and forwarded to the city auditor for payment. There are no conflicts.
Second.
Any discussion? As I said, everyone received the email. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vice Chair votes aye. All right, next item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes for December 15th, 2025. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? And for the new members, it is your prerogative whether you want to vote to approve. Even if you didn't attend, you can still approve, but it's your decision if you prefer to abstain. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Ms. Aramo is abstaining, and Vice Chair votes aye. Thank you. And then next item is the school committee student representative report. Good evening.
Last week, the Bresnahan staff took part in Teacher-Led Foundation's professional development through collaborative stations designed to deepen instructional practice. Using recent school-wide data, we highlighted instructional goals and areas for growth and identified 3 universal takeaways to strengthen consistency across classrooms: lesson pacing instruction and clarity of multi-sensory engagement. The goal of this work was to build shared understanding and aligned instructional practices that support student learning. It was wonderful to see our staff sharing their skills, creativity, and love of teaching with others. A big thank you to the following staff members for their leadership: Linda Gershony, Kelly Hart, Chrissy Platt, Rebecca Chapman, Paige Engler, Kristen Callahan, Carrie Lynch, Mary Elizabeth Richard, Kelly Garbarino, and Tom Abrams. Additionally, several Bresnahan teachers and administrators attended the Playful Learning Institute at Clark University, sponsored by DESE. This professional learning opportunity is part of the DESE grant funding Bresnahan received last spring. During the training, educators participated in workshops focused on integrating STEM and playful learning, inclusive practices through playful learning, and social-emotional learning through play. The experience provided valuable strategies that support student engagement, creativity, and whole child development across classrooms. And the NOC, congratulations to all of our band, orchestra, and chorus performers for their outstanding performances at last night's winter concert. It was a wonderful show, and we are so proud of our students and staff. Last week, the NOC launched a new series called Clipper Talks. This initiative is designed to give students a first-hand look at the middle school journey and beyond by hearing directly from NHS upperclassmen who proudly wear the crimson and gold. Students shared their middle school experiences, lessons learned, and what they might have done differently. The experience truly brought our Portrait of a Graduate vision to life and created a powerful learning opportunity and meaningful connection for both our NOC and NHS students. Clipper Talks will continue during advisory blocks through the month of January. In addition, the 8th grade Career Speaker Series also kicked off last week. Speakers from a wide range of fields, including medical, technology, engineering, restaurant management, entrepreneurship, and music, shared real stories, real paths, and real responsibilities. This series will continue through January to support our Portrait of a Graduate vision and help students begin to imagine what's next. Last week, NHS sent 4 kids to the Northeastern District Concert Band and Chorus concerts. Lucas Ting played flute for the band, and Nora Baker, Josh Tahan, and Nathan Legault sang in the chorus. It was a fabulous concert, and we at NHS and the community are super proud of their accomplishments. The singers, along with Bay Shoemaker, will all be auditioning for the All-State Chorus and Rock Band in 2 weeks. Congratulations to the students who are a part of the Newburyport High Network for launching their first set of live shows this week. Lily Curtis and Eden Harding have been fantastic news anchors, and the entire crew is to be commended for their thoughtful news segments, editing, and management.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Any questions for our student rep? All right. Next item is the the discussion on the appointment of a representative for Newburyport to the Whittier Regional School Committee. So I'd like to invite Max up to, if you come to the podium and just introduce yourself, and then if folks have any questions, we can do that after he's had a chance to introduce himself. Thank you.
I'd like to say good evening, councils and my residents. My name is Max Catan. I live on Plum Island in Newburyport, and I would love to be your Newburyport representative to Whittier Tech. So me and my dad, we love fishing, we love mountain biking, a little bit of hunting. I am currently at Whittier Tech, and I'm learning electronics and robotics. I love it there, and you know what I want? I want more support for it, which is why I'm going for representative. And a lot of my friends, we want improvements, we want changes, and I believe that I could bring those changes. And not sure what else to say.
All right, so I'll open it up. If you could stay, Max, if you could stay up at the microphone, that'd be great. Does anyone have any questions for our candidate? Yeah, Mr. Boger.
Max, do you have any strong feelings about the proposed building project that came up last year?
So, that's an interesting case because I believe that our current building, if well maintained enough, can fill the place of a new building. But the new building would have been incredibly, and I'm assuming that Newburyport would have had to pay a lot of money for that new building too. I think that maintaining the current building would be what we need. And I was talking with my buddies earlier. There's a lot of issues with the school, and I think I got to speak out about it, which is why I want to get up there and tell them, hey, you got to fix some stuff. You got to fix ceiling tiles, provide us with additional resources, other stuff like that. So that solves your question.
Thank you very much. That was great. Appreciate it.
Other questions? Yeah, Member Higgins?
What would be your top priorities to bring your perspective to the committee?
Notably, I want improves and changes to support me and my fellow students. Because right now, we suffer from poorly maintained school. That's part of why they wanted to build a new one. It's because the current one is poorly maintained, a lot of issues with it. And you restate your question, I'll dive into more.
So you said facilities is one thing that you are really
Yes.
interested in. Is there anything else?
I think about that. Really, I would like maintenance, and I would like improvements, and that sort of things. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I did. More questions?
Yeah, have you had a chance to talk to any of the other representatives, the former and current representatives to Whittier Tech?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Not met any of them. So.
Okay. Do you feel that you have a clear understanding of the responsibilities in terms of meeting participation?
I do not. I would love to know more if you could provide me
Okay.
with information.
Well, at a minimum, there's regular monthly meetings, if not two. I don't actually know how often they meet.
They meet once a month.
Once a month.
Oh, no, they might meet.
They
yeah,
might
meet
meet twice,
two
yeah,
months,
and
sorry.
periodically twice a month. So that's at a minimum, but that's the commitment. But also, the other, I guess, follow-up question to that is one of the concerns that has been raised in the past is, as a Newburyport representative, how you would share and communicate to the larger Newburyport community about what's happening at Whittier. Yeah, do you have thoughts on that?
So, I know a lot of people over at Whittier in a lot of different places at Whittier. If we need information, I can ask around, we can collect all that. Another thing is, if Newburyport wants something out of Whittier, send out a survey, I can communicate to them. I know a lot of people there, especially administration. So.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you did prior to the vote and what sort of progression you had after the vote as far as trying to fix things.
Which things in particular?
Any of the things that you're concerned about now. The building, most importantly. And as far as harnessing the energy you appear to have, what have you done with that currently?
Nothing yet. Kept it all stored, and I intend to release it all now. Push forward as much improvement as I can.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. No, I did.
All right. Any other questions for our candidate, Mr. Katan? All right. Appreciate you coming tonight. We will not be voting tonight unless anybody else feels strongly about that. We're going to sort of deliberate and decide. And probably if we were to vote, it wouldn't be until a future meeting. So we'll let you know when and if we're going to vote at a future meeting. We'll notify you.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the roof project update from Mr. McSweeney.
Yeah. No, I'll bring it up. I just want to introduce you there, Mr. McSweeney. Kari is here. He's watching out what I do, so you got to make sure. First, I just want to thank Mr. McSweeney and also Ethan Manning regarding the roof project and really a lot of the work that's been going on behind the scenes. Jim has been our point person, taking the leadership with the school building authority, and his planning and organization since he's joined our system has been really impressive. And as you all know, like this building project, the roof project at the NOC, and also the high school is a long-term solution, right? We've been talking about this for a long time, and so I'll turn it over to Mr. McSweeney, but also wanted to thank him and Ethan Manning for really working through this piece, and he'll give us the process, and kind of we're ready to present to the city council soon, very soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again tonight. I know this is a project we've been talking about for a long time, since I started here at least. And I do want to thank Ethan as well. He's been a huge asset to me recently in going through with a lot of the financing and numbers as we're working with the MSBA and our OPM, our Owners Project Manager, and the engineering firm. So just to refresh everybody, so the high school, picture on the left, the sections of roof that we're looking to replace is basically all the white sections, everything outlined in the red. It's basically what we're calling the A building, and that's the portion of the building that was not added on back in the early 2000s. And then for the Knock Mullen, it's basically everything in the black on the right that's again highlighted in the red, which is essentially the auditorium and the gymnasium. So those are the sections of roof that we're looking to replace at each of the schools. So unfortunately, the numbers are higher than what I had presented in my draft CIP when I was here the last time. One of the big reasons is when we submitted our package to the MSBA for their vote in February, we submitted it back in the early December. They actually kicked it back to us and our project manager and our engineering firm, and they had us increase some of the numbers that were for the Knockmullen School. So all the numbers that they had us change are there in the red, the yellow, sorry. So the December 18th is what we submitted to them, and then the January 8th is what they kicked back to us and what they wanted those numbers to read. So you can see that there's quite a bit increase between those two numbers. So unfortunately, that is what the MSBA is telling us. Now, what I can say is that these are estimates. This isn't saying what it's definitely going to be. Once we get through the MSBA process and we can actually put this out to bid, we'll have to see what the numbers are. There is potential for them to come in lower or higher. We don't know, but this is what the MSBA is working with us on, and this is going to be our baseline for what we're going to be asking the City Council to approve so we can move forward with this project. Right. So these numbers were just for construction. These are the numbers for the whole project. And again, you can see the numbers are higher. One thing I do want to note is that the total number does not include the money that's already been approved by City Council that we've been spending to get to the point where we're at, working with our owner's project manager and the design firm to get through the schematic design and through the submittal of the project to the MSBA. So when you look at the total number, you can subtract that out as far as what is left to be approved. Right. Here are the numbers for the high school. The MSBA did not change anything, but it was higher than what we had talked about when I was here before, simply because of the added scope that was added in for the high school, the added square footage that was put on the project. Originally, we were only looking at a small portion of roof, and then originally the MSBA kicked it back and said you can do more square footage with us based on the age of the roof and where we were looking at. So we did work with that and took that opportunity to try to get some more work done under the MSBA. And this would be the total project cost for the high school, including, again, what we've already been approved for through the City Council, the $275,000 to get through the schematic design and through the owner's project manager. And then this is what we'd be looking at. Here's a very basic rundown of all the numbers for each of the projects and where we'd be at the end of the day. So we'd be asking for the City Council to approve for the high school roughly $3.6 million, for the middle school roughly $3.4 million, for a total of about $7 million And that's what they would have to approve to get funding for before we can move, before the MSBA will move us forward. They need that approval to kind of get us in the next. And then as we go through the project and we can get through bidding and the project starts, as we submit our invoices to the MSBA, that's when we would start getting our reimbursements. So at the end of the day, again, we're at a 43% reimbursement rate with the MSBA, which is a very good number for us. So at the end of the day, if the project does come in with all these estimates, again, we're looking at about $7 million, total reimbursement of roughly $2.9 million. So the total cost of the city is going to be roughly $4 million to get both of these schools' roofs replaced, which needs to happen. We're in that time frame where the roofs are, reaching the end of their life and are going to start having some problems. All right. That brings us to the timeline. So we're here tonight, giving you the update of where we're at and the update in the numbers. Next week, we're going to be presenting this again to the City Council. The one change is that February 9th, it'll probably be more towards the end of February, beginning of March, before we can get a final vote from the City Council because of their 30-day between the meetings for the reading and all their data. But we do not need that for the MSBA to do their vote. We have roughly 30 days after the MSBA vote to submit our votes from the City Council saying that they've approved it to still be part of the project. So we do have that leeway. Assuming that MSBA gives us the okay, City Council is able to get us the funding, we're going to be putting this out to bid in March. Be putting that out, through the state bidding process. Hopefully get some good bids coming back. Trying to move very quickly on this. We'd be looking to award and sign contracts in April and start construction in June. One of the things, working with Ethan, one of the things we've been talking about is how quickly could we get them in and how quickly we can make sure that these roof projects are finished. So one of the things that, again, Ethan and I have talked about is during the bidding process in our bid specs, we are going to put in there a start date of, roughly 2 days after school gets out, and that they will have to be completed at least a week prior to students coming back. So those will be hard and fast dates that will be in all of our bidding and scoping for this project to ensure that they're done and all the construction equipment is gone before our kids come back onto school property. So that's what we're looking for.
All right.
Any questions?
Questions? Yeah, Mr.
It's about $380,000. That increase, is it based just solely on the square footage, the change in?
And for the high school?
Right.
Yes. Yep.
And what was the basis besides the square footage?
As far as?
Anything material-wise or?
No, just the cost per square foot.
Okay.
Yep.
So how did that change, the square footage?
So initially, when I started and I was initially looking at this project, I was under the assumption that it was just the auditorium that we were looking at. That was just a conversation I had with people when I first started and new coming in. And that's where, when we first got our ordinance project manager and our design firm, we first started looking at it, and we initially submitted to the MSBA back in November. They kicked it back and said, well, why is your square footage so low? What happened to the rest of it? And that's when we started looking back at the actual SOI that was submitted to the MSBA a while back and said, oh, I missed it. So that's when we started looking back and increased it. So the original statement of interest that was submitted to the MSBA was for all that square footage that I showed tonight. Yeah.
The initial one or the follow-up one?
The follow-up.
Follow-up, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
That's
Yeah.
right. So some of these speak for themselves, meaning thermal and moisture protection. We can all imagine what that may or may not be. And electrical actually shifted down, which was interesting. Can you speak to a little bit the specifics and general requirements? I mean, that's where the bulk of the increase is.
For the middle school?
Yeah.
So a lot of that is because it has to do with the solar panels. Because we have to pull those off, and they do reimburse for that. They're going to reimburse us for the cost that we're going to have to incur to pull the solar panels off and have them reinstalled.
At the percentage? Meaning it's still before
At the 43%, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
How surprised were you by the pushback on the numbers?
Honestly, we were all surprised.
Yeah.
And working with our engineers and the project manager, we were very surprised that they kicked it back and were increasing the numbers. We thought we were very conservative with all of our estimates to start with. This is, and our owner's project manager and our design firm are both firms that they do this stuff all the time. This is kind of their bread and butter. They do these projects. I know our owner's project manager, P3, they've got at least 2 other projects doing roofs right now. And that's why I say, these are estimates. And working and talking with them, they've actually said that they've seen some lower cost per square foot coming in with bids. So, and that's one of the things that we're looking at too, is we're trying to time our bidding process at the right time. We're trying to bid this early in the season to hopefully get some vendors that are looking for work, that are hungry, so that they'll come in a little lower than maybe they would if they had a whole backlog of work. So.
Does that suggest that it could come in lower than this, potentially?
It's hard to say, but there's always that potential, and I hope so, to be honest with you.
But as far as we can say, it's not going to go up again before the bidding process.
I can't say for 100%, but again, based on the conversations I've had with our project manager, with our engineering firm, and then the fact that the MSBA had us up those numbers to where they did,
I mean, either way, it's an estimate, right?
It is.
Until it goes out to bid, we won't have locked-in numbers, so, yeah.
Maybe the mayor can clarify this, but what we're asking for the city council, what you'll be asking the city council for is a commitment to the estimate?
So the numbers that we put together is estimates,
yes. So we would need a commitment for that $7,013,597.
But those were submitted today, so they'll take that next Tuesday, they'll see a presentation during their meeting.
Yep, I'll be
But then
there.
that will get sent to, again, they'll have the 30 days, it will get sent to Budget and Finance, they'll have the discussion there, and then they'll vote on it they haven't set their schedule yet, they're setting it tonight, so whether that is their second meeting in February or their first meeting in March, however that schedule works out.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, that was the one change I do have on my timeline is when that vote's going to happen. But I said, if the MSBA does, vote in favor of us, which again, we submitted the stuff very early in January so that they could kick it back with questions so that we could get them answered to make sure we get that favorable vote from them at the February meeting. So I don't anticipate them not giving us a favorable vote in February based on all the information we've been giving them and the conversations we've had with them. But again, after their vote, we still have that time frame to submit back their paperwork that we've got the funding, the approval for the funding.
Okay, and I don't know if it makes sense, does it make sense to have a school committee correspondence related to support for this project? I mean,
I don't think so, but I think it kind of goes without saying, but I'd certainly...
pretty dire.
I can certainly put it in my mayor's update to city council.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any input on this, but I think we all feel like this is a pretty urgent project that
I'll
has
be
been
attending.
kicked down the road for a while. Yeah, Mr. Ricky?
I'll be attending.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and one thing I can say is that if for some reason city council weren't to vote on it, it would be at least a 3-year wait before we could, get through this whole process again. Maybe do another SOI through the MSBA and try to rehash and honestly, like everything else, prices just keep going up.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to, as you probably are planning to do when you present to the city council, just a reminder that, postponing this has consequences. I know everybody has to balance a lot of things, but, we've been waiting for a while to get this project done.
And I think going through the CIP process last year, this was at the top of the list, and I just think that's why I'm not worried about it, just because it's not something that they're not aware of, and it's something that we've talked about. And I think the presentation next week will help, and I'm sure they'll have questions about why the estimates went up. But either way, I think they'll understand the timeline and the fact that we're going to be able to lock in bids and start this, start and finish this summer. I think those are all good things.
Yeah, and we're going to be working with the MSBA once we get to that bidding process about, what is the best way to bid it? Do we bid it as 2 separate projects? Do we bid it as 1 project? There's going to be a lot of those conversations that are going to be happening over the next couple of months as well.
Member Shaw, did you have a question?
Yeah, the current solar panels on the NOC, how old are they?
They're about 15 years, I think was the age. So with that, I've been working with Molly. And actually just had a conversation with her and Don Walters yesterday. We met for a little over an hour talking about this project as well as some other solar panel projects that the city's looking to do. And we've been working with Amoresco, who's the provider. They have the PPA with the school in the town for those solar panels. And looking at what the buyout would be, what our loss would be, it makes sense to have them removed and reinstalled. They still do have some life in them, and it is still worth it. The cost of the buyout, I want to say it was over $600,000, and it's not reimbursable.
Okay.
So the cost to have them pulled off and put back on is only about $250,000, and that's part of that's reimbursable. So. And then as we're working through adding solar panels, more solar panels at the NOC, we're investigating doing a solar canopy at the NOC, and as well as adding solar panels at the Bresnahan School. As part of those, we're also working with Select Energy on that side. So it gives us another option that when these solar panels do reach the end of their life and our PPA with Amoresco is over, we now have two companies we can kind of bounce back and forth with on what is our next step for replacing the panels at the NOC. Do we do another PPA with Amoresco? Do we pull in, it gives us more options.
I mean, say 20 years is their lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not only 5 years from now. I mean, I'm just trying to balance, like you said, replacing them versus
It doesn't make sense to replace them now, simply from a cost estimate standpoint and based on the infrastructure that would have to get changed out as well with the new panels, because the panels now aren't the same as they were 15 years ago, right? A lot of technology has changed. And again, this is something that Molly and I and Don and a lot of people have been looking at and working with our engineering firm to investigate all this and looking at the base numbers. It's really still more beneficial to keep them on than to either pull them off and leave them off or try to do something else.
Okay, any other questions from members? Yeah,
I just have
member
one.
Arnold?
This might be more a superintendent question, but assuming this all goes great and school starts on day one and they're gone, is there a plan B for if they're not done on the first day of school? As far as what happens?
So, that'll be part of the management of the project. We'll be monitoring it, and they'll have an end date. And typically, when you have an end date, anything they go past that end date, they get fined. There's typically a fine schedule put in place as part of the bidding process, but it'll be also part of managing that process to make sure that they do finish. And if they're looking like they're not going to finish, well, they're coming in on weekends. They're going to be staying late. There is no you get to keep going when the kids are in school. Like, that's not really an option. So that is going to be very well communicated with whatever firm we end up with.
Yeah, we anticipate the big construction phases of the roof project, will be kind of dwindling down by that point too. But yeah, we'll obviously look at contingency plans if not. Buy everyone headphones throughout the day. No. But no, we do anticipate, from working with James and also MSBA, like they really feel like these accelerated roof projects, that companies can come in looking at square footage to get it done within that summertime period. So,
and they're not big square footage projects. Right. I've been involved with other projects in other districts where we've been doing the entire roof of an entire school, and they've been able to get it done in that summertime frame.
Yeah, Mr. Broker?
Yeah, Ms. Shaw's been following up on the solar panels for some time, so it would be great if, and I realize it's totally hard to reconstruct these things, so just an estimate would, but just to know what we have left potentially would be really helpful. Because on the panels, meaning is there 5 years left, or the estimate? Because if we don't actually know when they were installed, it sounds like we don't have an exact.
I think our PPA ends in 2029 or 2030. I can get an exact for you.
Yeah, that sounds right from what I remember.
Yeah.
So and just the important piece of that too is that we're going to get reimbursed by taking them off and putting them back on. I mean, it's a $600,000 extra cost that would just have to come from us if we were going to actually move forward with any kind of replacement at that time. So.
And again, that's something that, Molly and I and our engineers, we've all been looking at the numbers and working with Amoresco on really what are we looking at, what are the numbers, and those are hard numbers we've got from Amoresco. That if we were to pull them off and completely remove them and not put them back on, then our fine for basically breaking the contract is about $600,000. And then again, that's not reimbursable. We don't get any money back from that from the state. To pull them off and have them reinstalled, it's about $250,000, and we do get money back from that. So,
Yeah, no, it's more about what's coming in the future and what we have to look forward to in 5 years. And are we then looking at a solar project? Because thank you, Mr. McSweeney, for taking on. This is a bear of a project. I'm more concerned right now in what the vice chair was talking about, which is sort of the politics of it. And I do wonder if it's worth having somebody that knows the full history of this project and how it's unfolded, because this was kind of pitched several years ago as a $5 million project. Now it's a $7 million project, and we need to kind of make it clear that it's really a $4 million commitment from the city. But, if somebody, it's really only the mayor, and the mayor's the mayor, and the vice chair that have been here through the duration of the first iteration, which was an attempt to do the roofs, I apologize, with the labs, right? So then, and the MSBA didn't particularly like that, and then we could have gone back and done both at the same time and chose not to. I think that might be a story worth telling, particularly with new folks. I mean, you could argue, well, there's going to be less scrutiny because of that, because they're new folks. But nonetheless, I think we should be able to tell this story so that we can have it, at the end of the day, discuss the successful outcome that has been created.
I can make sure I'm always there on Tuesday too to talk about the energy side.
That'd be great.
So.
Yeah.
What's a ballpark estimate to replace them with new? Because
So
29 is 3 years, 30 is 4 years. We're not at 5.
So I would have to look at what the PPA is that the city entered into 15 years ago, and I couldn't even tell you, to be honest.
So I would recommend maybe, because we have some additional questions about solar panels, maybe we could have a follow-up information item at next meeting, which won't be our retreat, but will be the following meeting in February. So if folks, maybe we can just confirm some of the details that people are asking about.
Yeah, and the one thing I can say about the solar panels, and I know this question has come before, about taking them off and putting them back on, then what do we do in 3 years? Well, the one good thing is the way that these panels are sitting on the roof, there's no penetrations. So it's not like we're going to put a whole new roof on and drill all these holes and have all these solar panels sitting there with all these holes, and then new ones come in that are going to be different. The one good thing is the way these panels sit is they have a flat metal bracket with a ballast or a big cinder block, basically, that holds them on to the roof. And then all the infrastructure runs off the side and down through another penetration on a different portion of the roof that goes down into the electrical rooms. So the one really good thing about this whole thing is that we're not going to be putting a whole bunch of holes in the roof that we then got to go back and patch, no matter what happens.
I will just say too, just to tie it back into the city council, Budget and Finance Chair Sharif Zeid has been involved in a lot of these conversations too. So I mean, they're pretty well versed about what's coming their way, but still, it's just want to throw that out there.
All right, any final questions for Mr. McSweeney? All right, thank you. Thanks for presenting. All right, our next item is a presentation from ACES Alliance.
Yeah, you guys come on up. Get her up. Oh, you dropped you.
Thank you, thank you.
So all you have to do for this is just,
Okay. I'm going to introduce Art.
yeah. That'll be good for Art.
I'll let Art Currier start off with this. So Art, please come up and you can talk about this, and then I'll introduce the rest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
You gotta be flexible, right?
You ready for this? Yeah, that's all you gotta do.
You gave me a good lesson.
This is all you do. You don't have to talk. We'll be in good shape.
Well, Sean said I don't have to talk, but I do have to talk because I'm replacing a young woman who's a senior in Newburyport Schools who put this presentation together. This presentation is the result of conversations between last January and this August involving over 60 people in the community who are very interested and appreciate what you're doing in the interest of the future generations and what has to happen in the future because of the changes in our environment and world. And this global state of the waste, you may remember, 2019, that's Greta Thunberg. We haven't heard of Greta lately, but she certainly was front and center talking about climate change. And it says right there, it's impossible to live sustainably today, and that needs to change. And this presentation is really about change because we're looking at the health impacts of waste. The waste that's in this community causes air pollution problems, breathing problems. Methane gas happens to be 80 times more powerful than CO2. It also is water contamination and disease. And nonetheless, we have our share of rats that are around. It's not just Newburyport, it's a big problem. So what does the state saying about this? Since 2030 there's a master plan, and in that master plan, it says that every municipality has to reduce waste by 30% in 4 years. We're behind this curve, but we have to reduce it 90% by 2050. This is a state mandate for every municipality, and not many municipalities have done much because it's overwhelming almost. But fortunately, there's some advanced thinking in Newburyport. At the Senior Center, we worked with the Council of Aging and the city, and you're going to hear a little bit more from Ben Iacono, and I'm going to let him talk about what's going on right now. But it's great to have this as an example. And needless to say, single-use plastic containers, which you could see, that's the next phase of the program to have best practices. What's this about? It's really safeguarding the current and future generations. This is about, children and grandchildren, et cetera, because we have to have green or healthy, resilient or strong, and sustainable communities, or everlasting. And we're confronted with many, many challenges. So it's determination that we need to have private-public collaborative programs and projects, because nobody can deal with it all alone, and we have to come together, because this reflects what's going on in the world, and that's what's happening, especially in Europe. So what happened from these conversations that took place this year is the fact that there's many issues to deal with, but we've got to have an initial collaborative project and program that will allow people to understand how we can deal with other major climate and environmental challenges. Towards Zero Waste was a program that Molly Ettenborough and team put in place. There were three points of reducing waste. Related to reduce by using less, reuse by using more, and recycle by having it have another life. Now there are 7, and the big one, if you see, at the top and the bottom, is rethink. We, right here in this room, all have to rethink what's going on with waste. It's not same old anymore. That's why the reduction is so significant. And what we determined is that while Newburyport's taking a lead on a lot of this, it can't certainly do the whole thing unto itself because everybody's busy, maxed out. Therefore, we're going to collaboration, because Sean has a nice little plaque in his office that says collaboration is how difficult things get done. And we've added with engaged team members. But this looks at 8 municipalities that are connected because of 4 school districts: Triton, Pentucket, Newburyport, and Amesbury. Because everybody thought it starts at the beginning, and it's the school is the place for educating the world, really, when you think of what's going to happen. But the waste producers on the other side, the communities of interest, they are going to have to make a lot of accommodation, and they have to be at the table. So it's got to be municipalities and the people who are creating waste working together. And the teams we created are doing research on what can be possible, communications, outreach to people, and the logistics. The key components of this program, it's pretty organized because we're going to have plans, then activities to communicate, interact, and lastly, the model will continue to enhance what's happening at the Senior Center. Last August, Sean stepped forward and put a piece of paper together that's talked about the fact that to do things in the community, we've got to start to use collaboration because it can't be done by one municipality. And the City Council, in thinking about what the issue is, had a resolution passed. And that resolution passed saying the city will reduce waste by 30% by 2030 and 90% by 2050 in support of this Towards Zero Waste program. So the city is committed to this, and we have started to communicate and broaden the awareness. And the first thing that's happened is Paula Estee has a community read program on the future we choose. And the future we choose is written by two people that were involved in the Paris Accord. And they have a great perspective. Unfortunately, what's happening at the international level is not what we'd like to have happening. But this book, if you haven't got it, you might get it, because it's called The Stubborn Optimist Guide to the Climate Crisis. There's a lot of things can happen if we are optimistic and strong. With respect to this waste program, the first thing that's happening is we've got 3 workshops where we're bringing people together to share information and to collaborate and develop collaborative programs. Deanne Foley in a minute is going to talk about these 3 workshops. And I'm proud to say these are the collaborators. These are people that have heard this presentation and say, we have to do something. And there's more that aren't in this system. And every presentation, because everybody understands, we've got to do it. So thank you for listening to the reality we have to face. It's not fun. It's real. The state is saying we have to do this. The world is saying we have to do many things. So we would love for anybody to help develop this program. Everybody's all yolly and free. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. I had to wear this tonight only because I totally support the Clippers. I was a general for 25 years, and then I took over Newburyport High School for 2 years, a few years back, and I became a Clipper right away. And I will test you maybe the next time I see you as what the official school colors are, but not tonight. My name is John Elwell, and I'm on the board of directors for the ACES group. My over XX years of experience in public schools, no sense of going into how many years, has provided me with great appreciation for the work that teachers, administrators, and school committee members do in providing our youth with a solid foundation for learning. In terms of background, ACES is a local, not-for-profit organization dedicated to address climate and environmental challenges to safeguard the well-being of our current and future generations. Since early 2025, we have fostered 8 conversations and discussions involving more than 60 participants. There were numerous perspectives shared around the overall dilemma of what planning is needed to have sustainable communities at 2050 and beyond. This must reflect that Massachusetts, as Art stated, has a state mandate to reduce solid waste 30% by 2030 and 90% by 2050. This is a significant challenge and needs to be addressed with as much collaboration as possible. The conversations in 2025 will be focused on why and what is needed to have green, resilient, and sustainable greater Newburyport communities. To effectively determine how to address this situation, it was concluded that a test or pilot program was needed, and that a pilot program is named Toward Zero Waste 2030/50 program. Sometimes you'll see a lot of TZW. It embodies the fact that every person, building, and organization must begin to manage their waste. Art provided you with the program overview with the slide. Our schools, not just in Newburyport, but in the area, as Art said, are in the center of learning for our students who need to understand and be knowledgeable about the current serious problems with our environment and our climate. The students are our future, and our climate is their future. To that end, ACES has worked with the high school's Interact Club, which has been active with environmental issues. We also have provided the high school students with some internships that center around the environment and the climate. It is also hoped that the environmental club at the high school will become active around the environmental also. And in addition, generally, all schools, given their structure and makeup, are a serious waste producer. So the opportunity to reduce volume and weight is very significant and much needed in our public schools. I am now pleased to introduce Dan Foley, who is a retired successful executive. He didn't know how successful he was, but I heard he's been very successful. Dan has always been supportive of organizations like ours and is a major organizer for the TWZ program. Dan will share information about the 3 workshops scheduled for February, March, and April. Dan, please come on up.
I wasn't really an executive. I was a systems engineer. But some of what you'll hear from me could be a little bit redundant, so I apologize. I want to speak specifically about the workshops themselves. So the workshops are to address the Massachusetts Toward Zero Waste mandate to reduce solid waste, again, 30% from 2018 levels by 2030 and 90% by 2050. There is currently very limited and decreasing solid waste management capacity in Massachusetts. And so what that means is the cost for, the cost for processing and managing solid waste in the future is going to go up. I've looked at some of the numbers just from 2021 until 2024, and they've gone up like roughly about 20 to 30%, actually 25 to 30%, just in that time frame. And it's going to get worse because without having landfill capacity, which is we're heading towards a cliff. We're going to see an end to landfill capacity in Massachusetts. They're estimating around 2030, and with our waste to energy incinerators running already at full capacity and no new incinerators planned, we're going to be shipping our solid waste out of state. It's going to be much more expensive, and so that's one of the reasons why this is so important. It's both like managing your waste and managing your money. So it's two-pronged. So this is a significant challenge, and we think that regional collaboration is very important and can potentially present more opportunities than each city or town can gain on its own. The initial workshop is being held for municipal waste reduction workers and decision makers from Amesbury, Groveland, Merrimack, Newbury, Newburyport, Rowley, Salisbury, and West Newbury. We have received acceptance to our invitation from all 8 of those municipalities. To date, we have 22 individuals that have accepted, and this includes school superintendents from Newburyport, Triton, and Pentucket high schools. We're expecting and hoping that Amesbury school superintendent will attend as well. In all, we expect to have between 30 to 40 participants at the event. It's being held at the Parker River National Wildlife Refuge Visitor Center in Newburyport on February 11th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And the workshop goals are to ensure that all municipalities fully comprehend the Mass Towards Zero Waste mandate, introduce, explain, and discuss state-developed resources intended to support local solid waste reduction initiatives, facilitate the exchange of best practices and effective strategies, and to promote collaboration in developing actionable ideas and programs that municipalities can implement to reduce their solid waste streams, either individually or regionally in collaboration. The 2 main areas of focus will be removing food waste and removing recyclables from the solid waste stream. And I'll talk a little bit about the first workshop agenda. Lindsay Height from ACES will be facilitating. There will be presentations by Molly Edinburgh, the Recycling and Energy Manager from Newburyport. She'll be sharing how Newburyport participates in the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program, or SMRP, grants, and the Recycling Dividend Program, and how it helps the city reduce solid waste and benefits the city financially. Kathy Mirza and Brian Walsh, they are waste reduction experts from the Mass DEP. They will be discussing the Massachusetts waste reduction goals and why it's important, how the programs are developed and evaluated, and explaining the SMRP grants and recycling dividends program. Claire Galkowski is the executive director of the South Shore Recycling Cooperative. She will be sharing how the SSRC was started, its organizational structure, membership benefits, operational challenges, and how they are measuring success. Lindsay was going to speak to the next part, and she couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to cover it for her the best I can. We think the value of this multi-community collaboration will come after the presentations, when there will be breakout sessions for the participants to discuss their own best practices and success stories, challenges and areas where they see opportunities, barriers preventing them from taking advantage of state funding and grant opportunities, and what they need to overcome those barriers, how the Mass DEP and the collaborative can help. The second workshop will be very similar to the first workshop, but geared towards businesses and communities of interest. The third workshop will bring the 2 cohorts together to share potential opportunities and collaborate across municipalities and businesses. The second workshop, we're hoping to have it in March, and the third in April. And I think, so are there any questions at this point?
Appreciate your presentation, very informative. Any questions? I think the superintendent, I guess, are you participating in the first workshop? And I don't know, are there school committee members participating for any communities, or is it just superintendent?
It's just the superintendent at this point, but
Okay.
If you would like to invite committee members, you're very welcome. Just let us know.
All right.
And so we'll probably get a report out from the superintendent, but if you, at the conclusion of the 3 workshops, if you also want to come and give us a quick update, we could probably make it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
All right. Any questions for the ACES group?
We got one more aspect of it.
Okay, we have a very full agenda, so I'll just ask you to keep it brief.
That's going to cut.
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Elwell.
The Senior Center has become a very viable force in terms of addressing these issues. And I've been totally pleased and impressed to come here and to observe all of it. And to say a few words about it, Ben Iacono, who has been instrumental in getting these kind of sessions together.
Thank you, John. Ben Acorner here. Back in September of 2024, a group of citizens, along with complete support of Sarah Landry, our director of the Senior Center, came together and initiated a project with the objective of trying to demonstrate how a facility and its users could come together to measurably attain, reduce waste, and develop those practices into a model that could be expanded to other facilities. And since then, and our objective was that this facility was going to become a zero waste facility, be designated as such, and be a model for other facilities in the community, and not only the municipal facilities, but also other organizational facilities, like Salvation Army, the schools, and things like that. Our objective would be to demonstrate that it could be as. The users of the facility was a key ingredient, and also the custodial staff, because it became part of the whole team effort. And since September, we started with one program called Drop a Bag, Get a Bag, which we focused on food collection, and since then we've expanded to composting all things that could be converted to compostable things. And we've achieved getting all of the utensils, all of the dishware, dinnerware converted to compostable material, in addition to collecting all of the food waste. Since September 24, we've collected 10.2 tons of compostable material. We've diverted that much from solid waste. Great achievement, room to grow, and continue to grow. By the way, my other team leader is Nikki Gerard there, and we have a team of seniors, believe it or not, who are working on all of these practices, advocating with all of the users of the facilities. And our next objective is really to designate this facility as a zero waste facility completely, and introduce a program called No Single-Use Plastic Container Facility. We're going to be talking with the mayor and the city council the next few days to get that going and demonstrate that it is possible, and have Newburyport become the leader to demonstrate that it is possible with the other communities. And in addition to that, this year's goal, we're focusing on Newburyport. And there's a lot of work to be done in Newburyport. There's a lot of facilities that we still want to tap. And we've been also talking to other organizations to adopt practices and mentor them on things that we've learned how to accomplish things. So that's our goal. Thank you.
All right. Any final questions for this group? All right. We really appreciate you coming tonight. Great to hear all the stuff you're working on. Do you have a final thing to say?
Dan Foley is here if you have any questions to ask.
Okay.
Or you can email us too with your questions. We can go from there.
Great.
So thank you very much, though. This is going to be I think, a long workshop. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure it'll be productive. Thank you all for your efforts. Appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is the school improvement plan presentations from our building principals.
All right, once you guys all want to come up? Yeah, I'll just introduce you guys there, Jamie, quick. All the work that's gone in. So tonight we'll be hearing from our building principals, Ms. Sokolowski, Mr. Marcos. Dr. Abrams is standing in for Ms. Rossi, who cannot be here tonight, and then Mr. Wolf. School improvement plan and goals according to our policy. Ms. Walker, you'll like this, BDFA, for a review. But I just want to take a moment and just credit our principals and all their work on the school with their school councils, which we all know are teachers, parents, and at the high school, students also who co-developed these plans. And as they go through the presentation, there's a lot of data that they look at, data-driven decisions, not only just the MCAS scores, but also a lot of the student data each school utilizes, like, iReady, DIBELS, common assessments, vocal data, behavioral data, SWIS, attendance. So a lot of work goes into developing these plans. And I just also want to highlight our teaching and learning subcommittee. We met back in June. And got a lot of positive feedback from school committee members. And I really believe these plans, there's a through line of the plans in the sense where it ties to the district goals, but also through all of the schools. So you'll see some common themes, common through lines. And then also as we begin our budget process, the school councils is a big aspect of that. So the goal for tonight was for our new committee members to kind of give that overall presentation of the school improvement plans. So as we start talking about our budget, and you'll start to see the connections of some of the budget asks alongside with our school improvement plan. So just want to thank our principals for not only being here, but presenting, but all the behind scenes work that they do in developing these plans. So take it away, Ms. Sokolowski.
Okay, thank you. So I'm proud to present the Bresnahan School Improvement Plan for the 2025, 2026, and 2027 school year. It's a living plan, so we make adjustments as we learn and grow, as we watch how our students are doing, as we get feedback from our faculty. So those of you who are on the school committee, I believe it was last spring you saw this plan, and it's technically the same plan, but some things have been added. You might hear me add a few more things, and some things that are on here we might end up removing from the plan to adjust to meet our school needs. So this plan is in line with our Portrait of a Graduate. As you know, the Bresnahan, it's where the Newburyport students start their Newburyport Public Schools career. So we are honored to have the responsibility of starting our portraits of our graduates and starting their portrait at the base level. So our first goal is that Bresnahan students will develop physical, social, and emotional wellness skills. Okay, so I'll scroll on here as I go. So you probably recognize that goal. That is part of the Portrait of a Graduate. And at the Bresnahan level, the goal summary is basically that educators will effectively use school-wide and classroom level Tier 1 and Tier 2 strategies to support the development of physical, social, and emotional wellness skills in students. So if you're not sure what Tier 1 and Tier 2 mean, Tier 1 is basically the base level for all students. We're trying to do our best to meet all student needs at that Tier 1 level. Tier 2 is adding in a little bit more, so differentiating, being very strategic in how we approach the learning, and for those students who aren't necessarily getting what they need at Tier 1, we add that Tier 2 level. We also have Tier 3, which is more specialized, such as special education. So with this plan for Goal 1, we're a big commitment school-wide to PBIS, which you've heard me and many of the other principals talk about, Positive Behavior Information System. It's a way to promote positive behavior throughout the school, teach universal expectations, which again, our students are the youngest learners in Newburyport. So we're really teaching the students how to be in school so that they can then be successful as they move up the grades to the other schools. So PBIS has been a huge part of our school community. We're very committed to it, and we will continue. On top of PBIS, we're also training teachers in the Think Kids restorative practice training, which is another layer of our positive support system that we have. It's being very strategic with student behavior, making plans with students, having discussions with students, and having them problem solve some of the behavioral issues that may be happening. In addition, increasing Tier 1 and Tier 2 behavioral supports in the classroom, we are also implementing morning meeting universally across the Bresnahan. This has been a practice historically at the Bresnahan, but we're being very intentional about it moving forward. We've created a block in our schedule for morning meetings so that all students, no matter what classroom they're in, no matter what teacher they have, will experience morning meeting. It's a chance to create a loving family environment within the classroom. They're building strong relationships. They're reviewing expectations for the day. They're connecting with each other. They're off of screens. They're playing games. It's a really wonderful part of our school day. and they're making human connections that we hope will continue with them throughout the rest of their school day as they go through their weeks, as they go through their years. In the Newburyport Public Schools, they're building those connections at the classroom level, and hopefully they're building a sense of care and community that they'll keep with them as well. So we do have ways that we're measuring the effectiveness of PBIS, morning meeting, Think Kids. We are keeping track at the office level of office referrals, the reflection sheets that come our way, interventions that Mrs. Hamilton and I have to do in terms of behavior and discipline, and we're just making note of that this year, and we'll be reviewing that with our building leadership team to see, how is morning meeting going? Is it working? What should we do to move forward? We also do plan to survey the staff at the mid-year point, which we're about at now, to see their feedback on morning meeting, to see if there's any adjustments we need to make as we continue through our year. So for goal 2, Bresnahan students will practice creation, innovation, collaboration, and problem solving. So that's another portrait of a graduate goal. And our goal summary is that educators will develop skills in and implement playful learning instructional strategies to enhance student engagement. Students will have opportunities for creative, innovative, and collaborative problem solving within our core curriculum. So many of you know we did receive a very generous grant from the state to implement playful learning at the Bresnahan. We are in year 1 of that grant. Spans over 3 years. We went to a training on Friday through the Playful Learning Institute, and we're getting regular coaching from our playful learning coaches. We're ordering supplies, and we're starting to see more and more playful learning in our classrooms. We're very proud of that. We're very excited about that. And we're starting with a core group of teachers who have committed to the training, and then it'll grow from there, hopefully having a train-the-trainer model that will eventually trickle out to all of the staff. So there's ways that grant is helping us measure our success. We have look-fors when we do walkthroughs. We have our coaches from DESI's contracted company coming in and giving us very real feedback on our implementation, and we'll keep you updated on how that's going, but so far so good. Goal 3, Bresnahan students will be literate across all disciplines. All students will have access to science-based literacy programs and high-quality math programs. As you know, we are fully implemented with iReady Math. We're a few years into that curriculum rollout, and we continue to use the iReady diagnostic to create some baseline data of where our students are and inform our instruction and intervention from there. We also have 2 math interventionists who are being trained as math recovery specialists, which will help target our intervention even more. And we think that will be, across the board, a great move for the school to just be able to be more creative and intentional with our math intervention. Our teachers meet on a weekly basis to discuss curriculum. We have grade level team meetings weekly with our coaches and with administration and with district staff to discuss curriculum, where we are with the standards, where we are with pacing, and where we are with our common assessments. So that's true for math and literacy. In literacy, we're continuing with our DIBELs, again, to get data on our students, to inform our instruction and our intervention. And we are in the midst of a literacy pilot led by Dr. Abrams that we will commit to a program at the end of the year and move forward. Our teachers are really excited about that. And we're already seeing some great discussions and integration into the school day already with the literacy pilot. It goes the curriculum that we have been currently piloting fits very well with our playful learning initiative, so it's really nice to see all of those things coming together. Okay. So goal 4, Bresnahan students will be civically engaged. So I'm proud to say, because the ACES team is here, that we are very committed to composting at the Bresnahan. And I'm sure many of the school committee members have heard me talk about that. But we have a full composting program during our lunch blocks. The students are very committed to it. If there's a day where the dishwasher is broken, which has happened, and we have to switch over to plastic for a day, students get very upset about it. They're very aware of the environment, and I do think that will, as they grow older, they'll keep that with them as they grow into the upper grades, and they'll keep composting, they'll keep recycling. We have a number of teachers who are very committed to the green initiatives and run a green team, which is part of our Clipper Course program. The students go around and collect the classroom composting, they sort the recycling. Sometimes they'll run initiatives where they're giving the classrooms feedback on how they're recycling. They give oops slips if there's wrappers or things that aren't recycling in the recycling bin. So I would like to just praise the green team and the staff that run that, because that's been going well for our school, and I'd like to see that continue. In addition to our goal 4, we are also doing a student of the month. Each classroom teacher is submitting a student leader to be recognized. So that's about 36 students a month in our school who are getting recognized for promoting our Clipper values of being safe, being kind, and being responsible. It's a nice way to just, again, tie into our PBIS of just promoting positive behavior, promoting school role models, and just praising students who are consistently doing a great job. We are very tied to the senior center here. We often visit. We did a 3rd grade sing-along, which the mayor attended. We have a pen pal program where the 3rd graders write to the seniors, and they create some friendships throughout the school year, and then at the end of the year they meet and they have a little play date, which is really sweet. They practice their writing skills while also getting to know their neighbors, and it creates a nice community feel. So again, at the Bresnahan, we're very committed to the students being civically engaged and just introducing them to the environment around them, other generations within the town, and we're lucky that we have the opportunity to do all that. All right, goal 5. Bresnahan students will be prepared for life after graduation through a focus on educator collaboration and homeschool communication. All families and caregivers will have a clear understanding of their students' progress on elementary standards and how their students are doing in school. We are about to roll out our brand new standards-based report card, which we've been working very hard on. Every teacher at the Bresnahan had input to this new document that we've created. We outline all of the standards, and we hope that this will be a way for parents to have a more clear and accurate picture of how their student is doing. It's also been a great way for our teachers to really dig into the standards, have really good conversations about what they're teaching and when they're teaching it. So we're very proud of this document. Our report cards are posted on Aspen next Friday, so we're excited and we're open to feedback. We'll see how it goes. But I can't thank the team enough. Again, every single teacher at the Bresnahan played a role in this new report card, and we're very, very proud of it. We also have rolled out caregiver conversation coffee hours this year, which is an opportunity for caregivers, parents, guardians to meet with myself, Mrs. Hamilton, our counseling team, and various members of the staff each month. We talk about relevant school topics. We did a coffee hour on separation at the beginning of the school year, especially our kindergarten and preschool students. It's their first time at school. Separation is hard. Our counseling team was there to provide parents with some support and some helpful tips for separation. We had a coffee hour on our report card to just explain the standards a little bit more, explain what this document will mean and what it will look like. We are hosting one this month on school safety, just having a conversation about how we're running our drills, what that looks like, what you can do at home. So that's been a really nice way to get caregivers into the building, meeting with school staff, and just, again, having open conversations about what we're doing, because we're really proud of what we're doing, and we would like as many people as possible to be engaged with us. Our teachers are really great about communicating. We're always having conversations about how we can create consistent communication across the classrooms, so that no matter what classroom you're in, you're getting consistent communication to and from home, from the teachers. And we have our weekly Wednesday, which again is just another avenue to communicate with parents and hopefully open up a pathway for them to communicate back to us. All right, so there's a lot more information in there. There's some very specific goals and very specific ways to measure the goals. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now or in the future.
If everybody's all right, why don't we ask questions based on each school, if that's okay with you? Any questions for Ms. Sokolowski related to the Bresnahan School Improvement Plan? Member Boger.
I'm just sort of interested in hearing more about the new report card. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's again, we're very proud of it.
So what exactly has changed? And
so we used to have a skills-based report card, and it was 3 times a year. We've moved it to half year, so it will be going out next week in January, and then again at the end of the year. And we're measuring against the end of the year standards. So basically, if your student is in first grade, you have this whole scope of what they will learn in first grade, and we're telling you where they're at now, and then you can see where they'll hopefully and most likely will be at the end of the year. And we're grading on specific standards, not generalizing skills. So it's a little bit different. It's unique right now in the district. The Mullen will most likely be going to this as well. It's recommended for elementary schools to be standards-based because it does help give a very clear indication of where the student is. And it's not necessarily going to be giving you a grade, but more of an indication of if your student is meeting, progressing, exceeding every particular standard that the teachers are teaching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds really compelling. I'm encouraged by the work reflected in these plans, so thank you very much.
Other questions? Yeah, Member Higgins?
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I know I've seen this document a couple of times before, but I just wanted to highlight that I was really impressed with your document this time. I think every time I see it, it's getting like sharper, clearer, more specific, more measurable. There was like so many places in here I just like starred and highlighted that I was like really excited to see. And not for me, but for all of you, what are we really holding ourselves to? At least one project-based learning unit that we have look-for tools that we know exactly what our referral baseline is and where we're moving to. And so I just thought this plan was really, really strong. And I wanted to thank you for that. My one kind of question or suggestion was around the goal 3, which is a lot around intervention. Your intervention here, that your goal is to move 80% of students moving on dibbles, 100% of students demonstrating growth in some of the formative data. I'm just wondering, like, what is your baseline there? Like, how close are you to that, like, 80 to 100% number? And what is your process for moving that along?
So we're about to do the mid-year assessment, so I can't speak to it tonight. But they're definitely lofty goals, but I do think that we can achieve them. We have a super dedicated teaching team, and then our coaches. We're about to do our DIBELS and iReady assessments, so we'll be looking at where we are and then, making adjustments from there. And then I do hope that, I'm not sure if we'll be revisiting this as a team, as a committee at the end of the year, but I do hope that I am able to report that we have met those goals. And if we're not able to, we'll definitely outline the steps in place to hopefully achieve those same goals. I don't plan on changing the goals. I hope we can just, change whatever we need to be able to meet them.
Great. And so then just one connected question to that was, I felt like the 80 to 100% were, a really ambitious goal. I don't, without knowing the baseline, I don't know necessarily how achievable, but it's certainly a great ambitious goal. And then I thought it was interesting that your goal for the MCAS proficiency was only 5%. You wanted a 5% increase. each year for this June and next June, and I felt like that was pretty low compared to the growth you want to see in your formative assessments, and I was just wondering if you could talk about why.
Yeah, we're having many conversations district-wide and at the school level about MCAS and how we can look, and I believe most of you were there earlier in the fall when we really dug into our MCAS scores and, looking at, what we're working with and where we want to go. So that is definitely something that maybe a little conservative, the 5% increase, especially with our school goals of our overall assessments and all the other data that we have. We've raised the bar pretty high. So I think we're still looking at the MCAS, the type of questions that are on the MCAS, how we're teaching, how we can try to raise that as well.
Okay.
But that's a great question.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up on Member Higgins' question and your response, and just say that I think it would be helpful either at the end of the year or at the beginning of next year to check in on some of these goals that we want to achieve this, in this school year, because I agree there's a lot of detail in here. There's some definite measurable targets, which I really appreciate. I'd love to just extract out of that and say, okay, what did we try to, in a nutshell, what are we trying to achieve this year, and did we do it? Just kind of be self-critical in that regard, or maybe we congratulate ourselves and say we did it. So maybe we can talk about that, sort of an interim report out, either at the end of the year or early next year.
Yeah, typically with 2-year goals, then next year I would assume probably in the beginning September do like an executive summary of the SIPs.
Great.
What was achieved, what we made progress on, and then if they're tweaking them going into next year.
So then I always ask this question when we have these presentations: is there anything about in the SIP that you think informs budget asks, in particular?
So I do think in the future, I think playful learning will be a big part of our budget. Again, we have the grant right now from the state, and we're managing that, and we're looking at what we'll invest in terms of supplies and materials, and then going forward, what we'll need to sustain it. So right now, I'd say playful learning is one of the biggest initiatives in the school, and looking, 5 years down the line, I do think we'll be building our budget with that in mind.
Okay. And then the pilot, the literacy pilot, I know Dr. Abrams has mentioned this in the past. Is that when we get to the end of the literacy pilot, is there a name for the program? The literacy pilot?
There's Fishbowl.
Fishbowl, that's what it was. Okay.
And CKLI, or Fish Tank.
So when we get to Fish Tank or Fishbowl, whatever. When you get to the end of that pilot, there'll be a decision about whether to purchase a curriculum.
Which one?
Yes.
Right?
So that'll be a cost.
Yep.
Okay, great. Other questions for Principal Sokolowski?
I have a question. I just, the report card thing is interesting. I'm sure. I remember when the superintendent came on board, we did a lot of skills-based instruction, and we put a lot of work into that. So we're not moving away from that necessarily. No. I'm sure those are embedded in the classroom, but just how we, assess, I guess, best practices is to look more standards-based than skills-based. And I'm sure before we did skills-based, it was probably standards-based, and now we're going probably
It's
back to standards-based.
it's actually a play on word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically, it's the same. Standards-based. Where people went back to skills is because they started to focus on standards, and then when you flip the language to skills-based, like here are the skills that student needs to know. It was teacher-friendlier, but parent-friendlier it wasn't, so we're switching back. So it's pretty much the same. And I agree, Mayor, we had, I think, a lot of momentum going into collaborative learning, skills-based instruction, a variety of different assessments. And then what ended up happening, and the COVID effect, is we had to go back. We took all that momentum, and when we were in COVID classrooms, it was stand and deliver. You were sitting in rows for a couple of years. And now I think coming out of COVID, this is one aspect, but the Playful Learning Grant is kind of going back to those things that we were implementing before. So I'm really excited, and I agree with Jamie and the principals, but the other piece that, and we'll talk about the professional development day, but I think the investment in our teacher leaders and creating a culture where the teacher leaders are coming to the table with the planning has been a big asset for us. So a lot of these initiatives that we have the teacher buy-in because they're the ones that are actually at the table and implementing this. So I think we have a lot of momentum moving forward.
Actually, just have one more thing. Was there anything in the teaching and learning subcommittee that was talked about that people wanted to share here around the plans? I don't know. Was there any good conversation that wasn't touched
We
on?
had these conversations last May or June, so
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember.
Well, I think
I thought they were recent too.
the when we had, I think, the MCAS presentations, what we noticed through the school improvement plans is as the teachers were at the table talking about MCAS and assessment data, we were referencing to the school improvement plan. So you see a lot of that work that's been outlined with a lot of the work that we were talking about, the internal assessment data and the MCAS scores. So.
Yeah, and just, Mayor, to clarify the standards based, when I was explaining it to Mr. Bogar, it's one thing that I left out was historically in grading, if you can think back to your own schooling, you take a test, it's worth X amount of, it's this percent, homework is this percent, participation is this percent, and then if you do extra credit, you might get a little bit more, and then it kind of comes together to give a grade. That's kind of old school grading. For this standards-based grading, our teachers very carefully outlined every single standard that they're expected to teach, and each student is receiving a very specific indication on if they've met that standard or not. So it's not really that lumped grading. It's very specific. So you as a parent will be able to see, okay, my student can do this, this, and this. It's not, okay, they're good at testing, they're not good at this, but they did extra credit, so they're getting a B. It's like very, very specific for each standard from the state. So I don't know if that helps clarify it a little bit more, but it does definitely build upon the skills-based training that our teachers have had in the past.
Okay, yeah.
So it seems like the system is the same as far as the overall grading. So it's meeting standards, exceeding standards, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is it possible where that gets drilled down to give a better picture?
Yes, so the report card, it's in my opinion, it's much more descriptive of everything that the student's learning, and it's very clear that this is looking at the whole scope of what they'll learn within their grade. So there'll be if you're looking at math, can the student do X, Y, Z? Yes, we've taught it, they've mastered it, we're good, or they're approaching it, but that's really normal for this point in the year. We're still going to work on building these skills, and they have till the end of the year to get it. So I don't have a visual of what the report card will look like here, but I'm happy to share it, and some of you will be getting it next week. But it is just from when your daughter was at the Bres. I think you would notice it's a little bit more clear and specific on all of the standards that the teachers are teaching.
So my one other question, is it going to be clear to parents?
We hope so.
Is there going to be like a key or a legend, an explanation?
There's a legend, and when we presented at the caregiver conversation, we did kind of give some examples for parents and got their feedback on, as a staff, we're calling them cut points, which are basically what we pulled out from the standards. So from the school council feedback that we received and the caregiver conversation that we hosted, it does seem like it will be clear to the parents. I will be also sending out a cover letter that accompanies the report card cover letter, but we're logging into Aspen, so it'll be an email that again explains we're indicating these standards against the end of the year, and don't panic if you don't see all meeting, or it's a work in progress, and we're working towards the end of the year, very much like we're working towards the portrait of a graduate. Everything's building, and if there is something that the teacher is concerned about and the student is not meeting a standard, you can expect to hear from your classroom teacher personally. You're not going to just be surprised on the progress report and leave it at that. It's going to be conversations, and we're in it together to try to get them to be meeting by the end of the school year.
Great.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Call up Dr. Abrams.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm obviously not Miss Rossi. I'm pinch hitting for her tonight. I appreciate it. But because I only spend about 25% of my time in the Moline, I can only answer about 25% of your questions. But Tara wants me to relay to everybody.
Just 25% of the presentation.
Tara did want me to relay to everybody how important the school council was in informing the school improvement plan. So she wanted to give a shout out to her school council before we begin. So I will go over the Moline School Improvement Plan. So we have 4 goals at the Moline School. And the first one is really around student achievement. So we're hoping, where am I? You know, when you get old. Oh, see, I went too fast. Yep, there we go. I went a little too fast. So the first goal is really revolving around student achievement, and we really want to improve student achievement, especially closing the gap between our high need students. The way that we're going to hopefully achieve that or move towards it is really by leveraging our common planning time. You know, through those structures in place, and I know you heard it from Jamie as well, we are really digging into our MCAS data, our iReady data, as well as our common assessment data. And we're hoping through those meetings to really inform our instruction and changes in our instruction. That's a big key for improving that. The second piece that we're really looking at is during that time, not just looking at assessment data, but really digging into some of the curriculum that we're using, whether it's the iReady, which we're on year 3 for, or whether it's piloting our CKLA or our fish tank. We really look at the structures, we look at the instruction, and we have collaborative conversations about how to improve to make sure students achieve and close those gaps. The way that we're going to measure that is really through through our MCAS achievement data, our student growth on the MCAS, but as well as our iReady internal data, as well as our common assessments. And we're hoping through all those structures in place, we'll see some great student achievement and growth. So that is our first goal at the Moline. The second one is really about fostering that sense of belonging that is so important at the Moline, and we are doing that through implementing that trauma-sensitive pro-social framework, and through those structures, we're really hoping to improve the physical, social, and emotional well-being of our students at the Moline. You know, some of the structures that we have in place to help that is we have the PBIS team that works collaboratively to put interventions in place. We have professional learning for our teachers around trauma-informed instruction and PBIS. And again, we're hoping that through those structures, we can foster that emotional, social well-being, and the kids all feel like they belong at the Moline School. We do have some systems in place to measure some of those strategies that we're using. We do have staff attendance at some of that professional learning sessions that we keep track of. We do have our BIMAS data that we keep, and we study that longitudinally to see the effect of our interventions, our behavioral interventions. And so those are some of the pieces that we're putting in place there. Additionally, on that one, we also have an increased classroom family engagement. So we're having teachers put some things in place to increase family engagement, and there will be family surveys sent out to assess how that's going. So that's number 2. Our third one is really focused on our portrait of a graduate. And really the idea with our third goal is to make sure students can see themselves as encompassing the competencies of the portrait of a graduate. So they can demonstrate that they are showing those competencies, moving a little bit beyond just the report card. So in this way, we're really trying to reimagine teaching and learning and how students perceive themselves as learners. To move students along towards envisioning that, we're putting in place things like student expositions, portfolio demonstrations, student-led conferences, and we're hoping through those students can actually articulate how they might fulfill some of those competencies. Another big measurement, I think, of that is going to be ask students, how well they envision themselves as being a creative, collaborative problem solver or a civically engaged learner. And then our final goal is really to work with student engagement, to increase student engagement in digital literacy. And we're hoping to do that through putting some professional development in and having our teachers incorporate more technology, robotics, coding, playful learning into their daily lessons. So during some of those CPT times, those meetings, teachers are building those into their lessons. I believe it's at least 2 a unit or 2 a month. So students are getting more engaged with technology, robotics, playful learning, etc. And some of the ways that we're going to kind of see if those are working is really through evaluative feedback to teachers, observations, looking at lesson plans. In some of those CPT times, we'll see teachers putting those into their lessons and their units. So those are our 4 goals. Number 1 is about student achievement. Number 2 is about our sense of belonging. Number 3 is about our portrait of a graduate vision. And then number 4 is really about getting a little more digital literacy and student engagement. A little much faster than Jamie. Again, I'm only at 25% of the time, so you get maybe 25% of the report, but there are a lot more details in the report. Right. And I'd be happy to field any questions or ask for help from whoever might be able to help.
Thank you, Dr. Abrams. Just a clarification, there's a reference to year, I think I figured this out, but year 1 is the 2025-2026 school year, and year 2 is the 2026-2027 school year, right?
Yep.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah. Member Alamo?
I'm not sure if you know this. The measurement or the goal will be by June 2027, 80% of students will be doing student-led. Do you know, like, approximately how many kids are doing that now?
I have no information on that, but that would probably be a little bit easy to dipsticks the staff and ask Tara and get back to you.
Do you have any connections at the school you could talk to?
I might.
Good question. That would be helpful to know. Yeah. Member Ricky, did you have a question?
I'm going to save it.
I need some questions. There are some that I can answer. Literacy, the pilot program.
Yeah, Member Bogert.
It was really cool to see the collaboration idea between parents and faculty. Ms. Higgins has been really articulate about this in the past, that education is really more of a holistic, community-based endeavor. We really need to foster more and more of that, and this comes up in several of the plans, which was excellent to see. So I just wanted to encourage that, which is great. On the formative and summative assessments, maybe you can speak to this specifically from a literacy standpoint, but as we're trying to, it was clear that you're trying to hit grade level benchmarks as you go along. Do you see any gaps that are, we have kind of an interesting model in Newburyport with the K through 3 and then middle school separate, and the 4 to 5 is this interim period. Are there gaps that you see consistently that need to be closed in that 2-year span?
Well, I think there are always gaps to be closed, going all the way up to grade 12. I think one of the beautiful parts about my job is I get to work across buildings. So when we see some gaps, like for instance in writing, we can address it all the way starting down at K. Writing's been something we've been talking about as being a pretty consistent gap. I think we have a lot of structures in place to work on that. One is the new curricula, both of which stress writing quite a bit. I think the second piece is in our CPT time, we really focus on bringing student work. And what I found is it's been very powerful to leverage student work to increase the conversation among teachers, and then to really change our instruction based on it. Simple things like what we call things or how we set goals, and then bigger structures like how we're actually teaching writing and through workshop model, etc. Writing is always going to be about. Writing is usually a pretty significant gap.
So, but in grade 4 and 5 specifically, there's the recurrent themes on writing specifically.
It is a recurrent theme with writing all the way up to grade 12.
Right.
But I will say that honestly, in grade 4 and 5 is where I think they start to really flourish as writers. So there's a very steep learning curve. They're starting to write more consistently essays. They're starting to write more formally. They're starting to really look at audiences a little more deliberately. We do that down to lower grades. but writing is always going to be a gap in general. And I think also, I think reading is something we also want to work on addressing. With the new curricula, I was in a classroom today, and the teacher's like, having authentic books in kids' hands. They're reading novels. She's like, every kid in my class has had their hand raised. We actually had the kids wanted to, during snack time, they wanted to read their writing to other kids. So instead of just having like a snack time, they actually had like let's read our work during snack time. So it became more like an academic time.
Thank you very much. Your brain is too valuable not to pick while you're here. So.
But thank you, because I'm past my bedtime too, so I'm hoping we're okay.
Wow.
Just
other questions, yeah.
Just, did I understand that you're piloting the same two things at the Bres and at the Mullen?
K to 5, we fish tank was in the fall, and now CKLA we just launched right after the break. They're both knowledge-based curricula, lots of writing, a lot more authentic text as opposed to just excerpts. Kids have been very excited.
I bet.
Both of them, both curricula.
Okay. Yeah, Member Higgins.
One question that I had was the academic goal. You had a lot of specific outcomes you wanted to see there for students, and there isn't as much of that in the other goals, specifically school culture and student voice and leadership. It was more input heavy, but I was curious because it seems as though I'm forgetting the name of it, the new
ECP,
survey.
yeah.
The ECP survey would translate really well here.
I'm very excited for that. I know Jamie mentioned it as well, kind of adjusting as we go. So we're actually going to be administering the ECP survey to the Mullen in the March. So we're super excited because that will be a little more of a robust data set. It will be our first one, but we can definitely, kind of tweak the school improvement based on the data sets that we'll have.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it just seemed like it fit really
fits
well,
perfectly.
with what you were looking for in terms of student leadership, student voice, student,
It's all there.
all these things, and you'll be able to present it.
And I had enjoyed today to actually pilot the Mullen one. It's kind of fun. You got emojis and
Emojis, surveying the kids with emojis. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Okay, other questions? Okay, so my standard question is, from your perspective, what are some of the key budget asks out of this SIP?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the most important one is really the new curricula costs money.
Yep.
And that's going to be a big piece, especially where if you spread it out over 5 years, it's much more affordable than if you do a 1 year chunk. So that's a big piece. I think the other piece, I know Sean mentioned it, was supporting the ability to have that common planning time. That's such an important piece. We've really leveraged it for so much this year, the consistency of it, the systems that we're setting in place, and then the culture that we're building about talking about student work, talking about instruction. And then from my perspective that I love seeing is the transparency and the openness that teachers have during these meetings, where we're really trying to improve school and student learning. So that's a big piece to support that structure of teacher leadership, the curricula. I think those are the big pieces.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, thanks so much.
So when you pinch hit, you get kind of the easy stuff. Thank you very much. I will scroll up to Mr. Marcos. Go, sir.
Hi, everybody. First, just want to say welcome to Mr. Ritchie and Ms. Aramo. Thanks for representing our community and supporting our schools, and obviously congratulations to Mayor and Vice Chair Walker on your reelection, and the rest of you, thanks for having me here. So we have 4 goals. Just some brief historical information. So when I first took over 5 years ago as a principal, we had our first school improvement plan was more on kind of logistics and operations and systems, and really just kind of setting up like this plan. More so just on how we were talking about our data, how we were talking as colleagues, how we were talking to each other. We were kind of just at the anecdotal level. And until we put these structures in place, we're kind of not where we wanted to be as a team and as a school. And I'm really, really proud of our team. So when you look at our our student data, which kind of filters into our first goal, we're beyond our pre-pandemic data with our MCAS, with the exception of one area, which has been math. And we know kind of where we're going. We made some really nice headway since last December and through the the whole calendar year. So just really proud of our team at the NOC and the work that they've done over the past 3 years. And it's really kind of paid dividends, I feel, just this past MCAS data. Also, we're seeing some really nice progress with iReady, our internal assessments, and then we'll kind of dive into some other measurements that we use. But our first goal is essentially creating an environment where students will exceed standards, demonstrate measurable growth across state tests of subjects, develop foundational skills needed for the future success. So you see just measurements below. We have our MCAS data looking to exceed 3% in ELA, math, and science. So it's a 6% jump in 2 years, and that's a lofty goal. But I do have faith in our team and just the structures we have put in place, from interventions to how we're talking about our standards. It's funny that Principal Sokoloski talked about our report cards, because we're having some of those same preliminary conversations at the middle school level around what's an A. And an A at the middle school looks very, very different from class to class. And doing this work with the professional dialogue over the past 3-4 years has set us up really nicely. So when you look at our school improvement goal 2, which is our professional learning goal, which is clearly all around common planning time, looking at standards, looking at what we're teaching it, how we're assessing it. Really hats off to our teacher leaders, our curriculum leaders at the NOC, who've really taken this lead role, especially on our early releases. Obviously, we have a full staff day that they're going to be spending quite a bit of time together, and then obviously our faculty meeting time. But just looking at what the standard is, how in-depth are we actually teaching it, and how are we assessing the student. So our conversations have led to, we need to look at our report card. Because an A, like I said, means a lot of different things. And it's just the way that Jamie had explained it around, you get 50% for tests and quizzes, you get 30% for some homework, you're a good kid, you show up, you got me a Christmas present, just kidding. That B plus might be the A minus, right? I know I was always graded because I was a good kid. I didn't know much in calculus, but I still passed the class. And how I know that is my first calculus grade in college was a check minus. My second calculus grade was a check minus minus. I didn't even know those existed. And my third calculus grade in college was a check minus minus minus. See me after class so you can drop it. And that was the last math class I ever took. And I was an A student at Lineage High School, okay, my alma mater, go Bulldogs, okay, in calculus, because I probably did the homework. I was a good kid. I did okay, I said, after school. And some of us, we still have some traditional grading. We've come a long way. We're not doing all of that, especially the last couple of years. We've really seen some transformations, but we just have to get on the same page. And this work around standards that we're doing throughout, we've been doing it before these 2 years, but just putting it as really a focal point for us. So looking at our teachers to be able to create a couple of units that are standards-based at the end of this year, and also, through the end of this plan, which is essentially May, June of 2027. We have a school climate and culture goal where we really want to, again, enhance our students' sense of belonging. We look at our ECP data. We got some really valuable data from this first go around. So excited to see what that looks like when we give it again in March to our faculty and our students. And just looking at really celebrating our students more. So our student council has really taken off the last 2 or 3 years. I know School Committee Ritchie and the mayor got a little taste, and Superintendent Gallagher was there for a holiday pep rally. Thank you. It's just a nice way for the kids to come together for the last hour of school before the end of the calendar year and just have some fun, right? The kids hold together so well. The faculty holds it together so well. I was holding it together so well. I got the flu 2 days later, so I was like, man, let's get out of here. But at the same time, it's just a nice way to just celebrate kids. They work so hard for the first half of the school year, and then just come together. So one of the other things that we've been able to implement to, enhance that sense of belonging, building that trusted relationship, is on early releases. We take a pause. It's either the first 30 minutes of the day or the last 30 minutes of the day, kind of depending on what we have planned for the day academically. And we come together as a community by team/grade level. So in 6th grade, they have town halls where kids are being recognized for our 4 PBIS tenets: respect, responsibility, awareness, and kindness. They do something similar in 7th grade where they do the knock rock, where kids actually get a rock and they hold on to it. And then we have our traditional goofball in 8th grade, where again it's more team building kind of competitions amongst the 8th grades, which is pretty cool. But one of the things is, as myself and Mr. Connolly, my assistant principal, and our school council was working on this, if we wanted our teachers to recognize students, our administration had to recognize our teachers. So one of the things that we do, we run a faculty town hall during our faculty meetings, and we're recognizing teachers the same exact way, for responsibility, for awareness, for respect, and kindness. And that's just gone a long way in building our community even further at the NOC. And one of our things that we really want to do at the end of this 2-year plan is trying to create an intergenerational health system, in the sense of where we can bring our 6th, 7th, 8th graders together. That we saw a little bit at that holiday and our Thanksgiving pep rally, but just being able to come together, have a little competition and fun, where our 6th graders can get together with our 8th graders and do some more team building. That's why we initiated those Clipper Talks as well. If you guys have time to come by on a Thursday or Friday and see our high school students come down, first of all, I haven't seen them in like 3 years. Like, oh my God, they're adults, right? It's crazy. But for them to come in, and I have a 6th grader, my son came home, he's like, Dad, I got to pay attention. I'm like, oh, really? You just figured that out, buddy? He's like, yeah, he actually had Pam Keeley's daughter. And Charlotte was like, I just wish I paid attention a little bit sooner. And she just talked about, I don't know if you know this, but Charlotte came down, and sorry to call her out, but Charlotte, she's fantastic. But she just talked about like how she just wished she just kind of paid attention a little bit more in middle school and was just a little bit more prepared for high school, because her high school journey just would have been that much easier. And to see where Charlotte's going and where she's been, it's just an amazing story. And there was just another 13 other stories. So that's just more of the culture that we can have from our high school students coming down. We've got another 12 coming down. I'm sure we'll hear a lot of the same things, okay? Tell Charlotte I said sorry for calling her out on national television here, okay? And then our last part, again, student voice and leadership goal. In support of our portrait graduate competencies, the Knox Middle School will increase student voice and leadership, resulting in a 5% increase in approval within our ECP data. So excited to see that. And that's the measurement through our student-led conversations, our showcase, getting our parent feedback on some of the things that they'd like to see a little bit in those 2 avenues. And then again, leaning on student council and student voice to just continue to build our community. And we get a lot of that information also through additional internal data and internal surveys, I should say, as we look at the data to improve that. So that's just a general overview. I can pause there and take some questions.
All right, thank you, Principal Marcus.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah. Member.
The Mullen as well as the NOC give a 3% increase in the MCAS, but I believe you mentioned yours is based on doubling. You had 3%
in year 1 and 3 in year 2.
So 3% is an attainable goal.
We're going to try. I mean, there have been some years that we've exceeded 3%. There have been some years that we haven't. But I just think we're really in a great position with the way our faculty has really dove into the standards over the past couple of years, really understanding what we're teaching, what we need to spiral, what we don't need to spiral, what's like a nice to know. We have a great team. We don't have a lot of turnover, so I think teachers are really finding a groove in the curriculum. And as we've done this work from high school down and the vertical alignments, especially through 6 through 12 and that 5 to 6 connection, has really paid dividends. So I think the goal is realistic.
Member Boger?
Yeah, no, it's great to see these numbers. A lot of 3%. It's great to have objective targets. It gives you something to come back to down the line, which is wonderful. And a lot of them are ambitious, and I think that that's excellent. And there's nothing. You should be ambitious. Our kids are capable of a lot. Sounds like you probably would have passed calculus had you been actually asked to do so.
Maybe if I was in Newburyport. Yeah.
So on the fair point. On the 5% increase in student performance, it sounds like you're going to use a lot of assessments. My question is, it's just I mean, MCAS is just one of them, I realize, but you have I-ready and summative assessments and common assessments, and you want to target and hit those 3 times a year, which is excellent. So the question would be, the MCAS lags, so that's problematic as is, because you're looking at the year before. It's just timely right now. We're not always doing these in the middle of the winter, but like right now, in this time of year, are there, if you're not, if those indicators aren't, if they're flat or uneven at this point in the year, what kind of adjustments do you see, or sometimes are you guys making sort of programmatically or in terms of focus? Do you understand what I mean?
It's a great question. Please tell me if I'm answering correctly. So, week before the holiday break, we gave our essentially our mid-year assessment in our I-ready. So when we came back, myself and Mr. Condon dove right into those results, and we have kind of put kids in like some categories. You got those fringe students that based on I-ready and kind of correlation to like how they correlate our MCAS data is like, all right, if we spend just a little bit of time here spiraling certain standards that they've shown some growth but not just there yet, we're going to push those kids up a level. There are some kids who may be behind kind of a couple of levels based on kind of their algorithm, where they might not meet or exceed in 6th grade, but if we put certain interventions in place, maybe at 7th grade they get a little bit closer than 8th grade for sure. And we have a through line of quite a bit of students that kind of came in, whether it was a transfer student or a choice student or a kid from the 5th grade from Mullen, whatever, person moving in from out of state, whatever it might be. We have a through line of quite a bit of students who we've put interventions in place, whether they're tier 1 or tier 2, that if we look at them from 6th grade through 7th through 8th and then follow them through 9th, they're now meeting expectations. So definitely there's some targeted interventions that we do during flex time. We've had some success with our MCAS boot camps that we've run in January through April, in particular with our students that receive services. We've seen some great growth over the past couple of years. So those MCAS boot camps where they've been over 65 SGP in multiple years in a row, which has been great. So just things like that as we do. So again, if we see some flat growth and some kids that are like, oh, what happened here? Then we dive deeper into their test. A lot of times students will rush the test. We might have them retake it. We might just say, what happened here today? Like, oh, you know what? I had something going on at home, or I was sick that day. So there's definitely a lot of factors. So that's what the greatest thing about Flex is. It's an unstructured time where kids it's really like a wind block, but it really gives our teachers the time to dive in and have those one-on-one conversations on, hey, your I-ready went down a little bit, or your I-ready went up a little bit, or went up a lot. Let's celebrate you and keep going. So did I answer your question?
It does. That's great.
Okay.
No, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's going on throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted approach, just like everything else we do.
Yeah, just to cycle back for clarification on the grades, what I heard you saying is that you're trying to make the grades at the NOC be more uniform. Is that fair to say? So an something across the board?
I think it's challenging when and again, I'm just using this as an example. This is not like real world, but just like when you've got like a 6 Crimson teacher does this and a 6 Gold teacher comes down, it's like, all right, like that's some validity from families, right? Like, hey, you know what, this teacher says this and this teacher says this. But like there's truth in that is like we're teaching all the same stuff. So like if you walk into a 6 Crimson classroom tomorrow, like they're within like a day of each other when it looks at sequencing and mapping and whatnot. There might be a little bit difference in philosophy and grading. With that being said, it's what we want to ideally get to, and I really want my teachers to lead this because they've got to buy into it because they're the ones who have to stand behind their grades. Ideally in a math class, we want to get away from, hey mom, I stink at math. I'm not good at geometry, but I'm really good at algebraic reasoning. And I can add and subtract, equations. So then the teacher will be able to assess very similarly to like the Bres, and if the Mullen adopts, it would be kind of a very natural linear progression when they get to the middle school. Okay, they get it. We're kind of in between. Do we put a letter grade? Do we put a number? What's that look like? How much education do we have to put? Does a 4 mean an A? Does a 3 mean a B? What's a 3.5? So these are all things that we've got some time. Our goal for this, for us, is realistic year 27, 28. So we're doing a lot of the preliminary work during our faculty meetings right now. We've seen some samples from some area districts. Some are really dense. We're like, okay, that's overwhelming. Some are like, okay, there's not enough on that. So we're just going to try to pick some brains of working with some other schools in the area that are doing it. There's a couple schools in New Hampshire, Maine, a couple local schools that we have partnerships with to just kind of dive in what did their process look like in the middle school, because it will look and feel a little bit differently, because the stakes get higher in middle school. It's when grades kind of matter, I guess. That's kind of the mantra up there, or I guess the mindset. So, but essentially, if what we would love to see as a parent and as a student and as a faculty member, it's, I know where my student is, or I know where I'm at. I know where my strengths are. I know where my weaknesses are. I know where my areas of growth are, and it's very specific. I'm a really good writer. I'm not so great in comprehension. I need to improve in speaking in public, whatever the standard is based on the state. And I think the work that we're doing in that professional practice school for my second goal in our school improvement plan is really going to support that work.
Okay. That sounds like important work, and it sounds like it's going in the right direction. So.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Member Higgins.
My only question is, mostly out of curiosity, on your professional learning goal, you talk about providing training on research-based teaching strategies, and that you have an observation checklist on those strategies. Just like kind of broad overview, what are the teaching strategies that you're prioritizing for this year?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's one of some of the things we've done. We've done the Marzano, we've done the Hattie. We've like, okay, what do we want to look for? And we really just focused on 3 in our observations. One of the things is we want to see collaborative groups with our students. We want to see formative assessments that give immediate feedback in real time. And we want to see that explicit instruction with that gradual release. Getting away from kind of just the teacher talk at the front, and we were so far away from it kind of pre-pandemic, and we got back into that routine. That's the reality of it, and it was hard. But if you walk into a classroom now, you'll see a very different looking classroom. So those are the 3 that we focus on. There's an array of others that we do, but I would say those are the 3 consistent ones that we leaned on with our teacher leaders to come up with them as a team, and we've got great support with the faculty and staff on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? I just want to say I think the standardized or reviewing the report card and how we report out is great. I do want to say that I'm enthusiastic about engaging the faculty, and I'm glad that's where it's coming from, because I think it can be a burden if you go too much the wrong way.
Absolutely. Yeah, we never try to say this is what we're doing at the NOC, just like any of our leaders in the district. So,
so my standard question is, what are some of the budget asks out of this?
Yeah, a lot of it is around our student culture and student voice right now. Just strengthening that, maybe looking at some of the technology to support that intergenerational health system, on how we can maybe track some of the the point system for incentives. We always look at our programmatic, our special ed programs, kind of what's coming up from the 5th to the 6th. There may be some shifts in reading and or small group stuff. So as we look at kind of staffing patterns with Superintendent Gallagher and look at those numbers, some of those asks may be on the table, but most of our stuff right now is on that kind of school culture, student voice vein.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Last but not least.
Here I come. Not as tall as Mr. Marcos. All right, well, thanks for having me, and welcome to our new school committee members. And so I'm here to present the high school's school improvement plan. So let me get over to this here. And so one thing, before I really dig into it, you will see some numbers that go back to 2024, because one of the things through my instructional leadership team and the school council, we had some carryover objectives and tasks, and then we wanted to make sure that those were still relevant even within this plan. And just like Nick, Tom, and Jamie, I'll be providing an overview of the improvement plan and its goals, and just highlighting some of the objectives that we have there. So with our first goal, which focuses on school climate and engagement, so this is increasing student engagement by incorporating the portrait of a graduate. That's obviously a theme that you've heard throughout all of our plans tonight, and then making sure that that is embedded within our Newburyport High School programming and our curriculum. And really the data data that we use for this has been the VOCAL, Views of Climate and Learning, which is the survey that students take after they take the MCAS in grade 10. But then also now, which we're excited about, is the ECP data that the district started last school year, and then we'll be implementing again in March, which you heard from the other principals as well. And one of our big goal, where we've made growth in our school climate over the past 5 years, but we're right on the threshold, at least using the VOCAL data in terms of being a favorable school climate. We're right at the very, very high end of that somewhat favorable. I mean, we used to be lower, which is progress, but obviously, a huge objective for me and my team and our teachers is that our students are just loving coming to school and are thoroughly engaged with everything, and really just kind of highlighting some of the strategies that we're implementing for that. And so one of the pieces was really realizing that we needed greater alignment just around kind of like what you heard from Mr. Marcos, just around an instructional identity and also alignment in regards to how we give our students feedback so that they're really aware in terms of where they stand against the standards that are being taught in the class. And so we felt it was very important. We needed to start with a vision statement, and that was work that happened this past summer, and it's been kind of at the forefront of every single staff meeting where we have a faculty member read that vision statement, so it just stays right at the top of our heads, and that's really been a focus of our professional development, is how does this vision statement really roll out, and especially just around trying to better understand what really goes into creating powerful learning experiences for students. So the faculty have done a lot of work, and that's actually led us to an exciting next step, which will be happening after February vacation, where the instructional leadership team now is planning a dialogue with our students. So our teachers will be part of a dialogue listening to our students about what gets them excited about learning in the classroom. And we're excited to be able to use that information to really better align our practices at the high school. And so then going on to goal number 2, so where all students graduate with a post-secondary plan and then are also able to showcase their story relevant to their interests and skills and what they've learned throughout high school. So this has been a big goal where we've really been doing a lot of work and also leveraging resources from the state in a program that they call the MyCap. So my career and academic plan. And so a lot of work happened this summer, or actually a year and a half ago, we started a curriculum, but then received feedback at the end of last year from our students for our advisory program and then redeveloped it this summer. And so the work that happens in freshman year all the way through senior year, it's kind of a scaffolded approach so that students are using time in their advisory period that we call our onward block to explore their interests, connect them to what they're doing in school and the courses that they're taking, and really by the end of their junior year are able to have a post-secondary plan draft. And so we were also able to purchase 2 programs, School Links, which students that's where they record all of their information and kind of ideas in terms of their resume and vision statements, and then parents also have access to that. And so I'm constantly communicating that out so that they can also partner with their student as they're starting to have conversations about potentially what they want to do after high school. And then another program that we also have is CGN, the College Guidance Networks, which also helps families for planning with their post-secondary work. Now, another piece that goes in to this work has been I can statements. So our teachers last year, in collaboration with the middle school teachers, broke apart our portrait of a graduate into I can statements, so skills. So really working to align, so as they're teaching their content and standards in the classroom, helping students to recognize the skills that are being taught alongside that, and how those skills apply to them beyond their high school or their schooling experience. And so that's been additional work that has also been happening. But then another part, which is a real large part of this goal, is really the programming at the high school level as well. And so realizing that there needs to be some rethinking in regards to how our program, I don't want to say provides more choice for students, but as students are really developing and understanding where their interests fall, that we have options and opportunities for them to explore those. So you've heard a lot over the past year about our Pathways program. So we had done a lot of work and kind of realigned some of our school systems so that we could start tapping in to that state program. It's a pretty extensive application process to gain acceptance into the Innovation Pathway programs, but now we're excited that we're able to offer 3. And actually, in talking about community collaboration, the ACES program has been a big support, especially where the environmental pathways, and that's a big reason why we chose the environmental pathway first, because we were best aligned to start with that and gain acceptance from the state. And then since then, we've now also gained advanced manufacturing and then health and social assistance. And it's been great in terms of the community support, just with the number of partnerships that we've been able to increase in terms of students being able to do internships, because there's a certain number of hours that students need to achieve in order to earn that pathway certification. But now also, while exploring this, we've also, and realizing a lot of the conversation just around here in Newburyport, just in terms of the technical schools, but also the conversation at the state level, realizing that those have become, they're very popular, and there's just not a lot of seats that are available for students. So what can we do to enhance our program to provide students with those opportunities? So actually, through working within the Innovation Pathway system through the state, we also started to learn more about Chapter 74 programming, which is what obviously the vocational schools offer. And so we did a lot of work this summer to better understand what would go into providing those programs, and we're starting to get more organized, and we're very excited just in terms of being able to, well, first we have to apply just to be accepted to apply, which is our goal for the end of this year, but our objective is to be able to apply for 2 Chapter 74 programs next school year, and that would be radio and television broadcast, where we have the new multimedia broadcast studio, which has been extremely popular, and then where the district started the child care program, and from our understanding, Whittier Tech is dropping their child care program, so to offer an early education care pathway for our students. And we don't have to get too much into it now, but just we've learned so much about Chapter 74, but then also, and I know when you asked your question, Juliet, about kind of the budget piece, that, I mean, obviously this is going to be a big focus for us at the high school. We feel it is very important, especially where things are trending in Massachusetts. But just the funding sources by getting into these programs that become available for cities is very impressive. So we do feel it's prudent on our part to really invest some time and energy into those. Okay, and so that is goal number 2. That's a big one, though. And then our third goal, and this one primarily focuses on our achievement results, where MCAS obviously has been a big driver of this, but we also realize that there needs to be a shift as the state is now shifting with their MCAS requirement and also trying to make decisions about what high school students are going to be able to demonstrate. And so a big focus for us now. So even though our goals are focused on our ability to meet and exceed state expectations via the MCAS, because I mean it's a high quality assessment and it's a great tool for us to continue to reflect on our instruction and how we are intervening with students when they're struggling in the classroom, but we are also doing a lot of work around building student portfolios. And actually, it's going to be with the class of 2027. Our objective is that every student would be able to showcase and present a portfolio of their learning to demonstrate what they've been able to accomplish through their 4 years at Newburyport High School, and all of that being aligned to the standards that had been taught. And the last one does focus on our school building. So just realizing that as we are kind of rethinking the high school experience, and it's not about building out or adding additions onto the high school, but how can we just be more thoughtful about the space? And the video lab is a great example of that, just kind of reshuffling some of our classrooms up on the top 2 floors and creating that space for the video lab, but then realizing that our basement is really untapped potential. And so where we've been taking a strong look at that in terms of how that would allow us to bring in some of this program that we're looking to do to kind of change the high school experience for students in Newburyport.
I have three things for you. One is I'm super excited that a change from this version, from the spring version, was that you included that instructional vision, which I feel like I, just talk about constantly and how important it is.
Yes.
And so I'm curious what your instructional vision is. You might not know it off the top of your head, but
I don't know. It's a paragraph, but I can share it with you, though.
Can you share it with
us?
us?
Definitely.
That would be
yeah,
great.
we're very proud of the vision that they came up with.
That's great. I love
Yeah.
that you have one, so I would love to see it. And then a new thing you're doing this fall were these academic blocks, the math and intervention period and the Clipper blocks. Just curious how those are going so far.
Yeah, so we were able to, working collaboratively with the math department at the middle school, so we were able to identify students who were assigned to our math intervention block, and then we now have a new set of students based off of their performance over the first semester that will be going into second semester. And so a lot of that has been, that course does focus on foundational skills of math, so just really reinforcing kind of pre-algebraic skills and trying to strengthen students' fluency with math. And then the Clipper blocks, that has really been a game changer. So as teachers, especially around the interim assessments that we've administered, so as they identify students who are lagging skills, actually Peter, who's here, just the biology team, so as they have identified different standards, so they then develop different lessons around those standards, and then they assign the students to come to them during the flex period. Okay. And so that's really been a great use for that time. Whereas the flex period, typically students are able to choose who they're going to see, but when teachers recognize that a student is struggling in an area, they're assigning them to come and get that targeted intervention.
Nice, that's great. You might not know about the math intervention period after one semester, but I'm interested to hear what the teacher feedback is for kids who went through that first semester. How are they doing in the grade level math class for the second semester?
Yep, definitely, we can pull that. And then we have our end of semester assessments that are happening next week, and that'll be a great indicator as well.
Yeah, that's great. And then my last question was just around that. The MCAS was in your measurement summary, wanting to meet MCAS goals, and just, I know we've already talked about this, but given the current climate, I'm worried about those scores just continuing to drop. So I was wondering what you thought, or what your rationale or thinking was around keeping MCAS as your goal as opposed to a internal assessment.
Yeah, well, I think we have, our internal assessments, we really are just starting to align.
Oh, okay.
So I think we just need to kind of have that baseline so that we can decide on what would be an appropriate goal to achieve off of those.
Got it. Okay.
So
thank you.
Okay, other questions for Principal Wolf? Mr. Boker?
You have to excuse my ignorance. I'm just curious about the vocal. It's fascinating. I mean, it must be difficult to measure a school's climate. And you're so goal-oriented, other than the fact that you're not going to rest until you get a 51.
I need a 51 on this one. It's killing me.
So you like this tool?
I do,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
And the ECP, though, seems also like a very good tool as well. We actually, at our December school council meeting, we took both data sources and did a data dialogue with that. So it was just really interesting to see that, one common theme is that student engagement continues to be low, and so that's an area that we just want to continue to focus on. But then some of the pieces, it's interesting when you then kind of break apart, like, all right, like you look at all of the questions. Like one of the questions is, my in around engagement is my teachers frequently ask me for feedback on how, the lessons went. But now one of the actions that we are taking is we're going to listen to students about what gets them excited in the classroom and be able to use that. But another one also is that, I understand what I'm learning in school is relevant to me, and that tends to be also a low one for our students. And so really trying to get to the why of the lessons, but then that a lot of the work that we're doing with the post-secondary planning, hopefully, and as well as the portfolio that students are developing so they can see how what they're doing in school is going to apply for them as they go beyond.
That's excellent. I'm excited because you're excited.
Thanks.
We don't have to talk about it now because time is short or late, but down the line, I would be interested in the space plans. Mm-hmm. I know you're not going to blow up an historic building for collaborative space,
Yes.
but that sounds really compelling and interesting. So
Yeah, and I know Sean has been talking about that, once we really have a good visual, that to really engage all of you in coming to look. So.
Other questions? Yeah.
I just had one. With new leadership at Anna Jakes and the health and social pathways, has Anna Jakes reached out at all about partnering with?
We do have students that do internships up at Anna Jakes, but I'm not aware of them necessarily reaching out. I can talk to Aaron Smith.
Yeah.
But we
They had
also
mentioned-
have,
I was in a
Adria's
meeting-
been a great partner for
They mentioned it in a
social
meeting not that long ago, and I was just curious
Okay.
if that had happened yet. But I can push them a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be
for
great.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was excited to hear about the Chapter 74, so I think we'll probably be hearing more about that.
Yeah,
through the budget
yes,
process,
yes.
and that sounds really neat, so good job.
Yeah.
Other questions for the principal? All right, you answered my budget
All
ask,
right,
so thank
we
you.
jumped ahead. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Perhaps going to come last.
All right, thanks. I really appreciate all the school principals being here. Good discussion. I know it's a little later than normal, but good questions from committee members too. So the next item is a procedural item. Typically we do this at our organizational meeting, which is review and adoption of our procedural rules and regulations, which are provided in your packet. They are the policy BCC/BCD, which is the school committee operating principles and norms of interaction. And just a heads up, I think we started this last year at our retreat, kind of reviewing these and understanding where we might do sort of a self-reflection and understand where we can maybe have room for improvement and or things we want to work on related to how we operate as a committee. The policy says I am supposed to read these aloud, but I'm just going to pretend that we read them aloud due to the lateness of the hour. So everybody has them in their packet. If you do want me to read them aloud, I will do that. Okay. Shaking heads, no. So that's, we do want to vote just to reaffirm that we will continue to operate according to those norms, operating principles and norms of interaction. So I think if someone wants to just make such a motion, that would be great.
I move to adopt the norms as stated for the Newburyport School Committee.
Second, Mr. Ricky. And any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the vice chair votes aye. Great. Okay, moving on to another important business item, which is the designation of member and alternate to sign payroll and vouchers. And we do have to do this again as part of our organizational commitments. The recommendation is to have the proposed chair or the chair of the finance subcommittee, which is Mr. Boger, and then typically the alternate, I believe, is the vice chair. So if someone wants to make such a motion, that would be great.
I motion that FinCom Chair Andy Boger and Vice Chair Member Walker are the alternates to sign payroll and vouchers when if the time arises that we cannot do it in general session.
Second.
Okay. And this is a clarification. It's just to sign payroll and vouchers. It was Member Arable. All right. Any questions? Did we get a second? Yes, we did. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the vice chair votes aye. Great. All right, Mayor. Subcommittee assignments.
Yeah, so I mean, no one really got back to me as far as having any issue with where we landed with those, so I'll just read these aloud, even though they are in the packet. For the Finance Subcommittee, Andrew Boger will be chair, Juliet Walker and John Rickey. Policy Subcommittee, Kathleen Shaw will remain as chair with Lauren Aramo and Juliet Walker. Teaching and Learning, Brianna Higgins will be chair, along with Andy Boger and Lauren Aramo. And that is it as far as subcommittees go.
Great. Thank you. All right, and then subcommittee updates. I know it's still early in the year, so we probably haven't had any meetings. But Mr. Boger, we haven't settled on a date or anything yet, so we can talk about that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the question is, can we continue to do the Thursday morning? Like, does that work? For the superintendent and for Ethan?
Yeah, Mr. Rickey, does that work?
For you? I mean, the question is really at you. Like, can you do?
Yeah, that's fine.
9 a.m. on Thursday?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll send out an email, and maybe we can set that for the end of this month.
Great. All right. Thank you. Anything from policy?
So we have some times out for our next meeting before the end of the month, so, yeah.
Okay. And Teaching and Learning Subcommittee.
Our next meeting is supposed to be January 21st, but we set this with our last group of people. So Wednesday at 6, it sounds like is probably not going to work moving forward. So I'm just asking if other people have better days of the week that they prefer.
It has to be an evening meeting.
Well, given current circumstances, the morning might work better for me for the rest of the year.
That's great.
That's
Great. That you prefer morning?
Yeah.
Sorry, can't do that next year. But we'll stick. Okay, so is there a day of the week that will matter for you guys?
Any day but Tuesday works for me. Morning.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference?
If I know ahead of time, I can sort it out.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, I'll just check with the district and see what Lisa, what works best for Lisa.
Sure.
But we, Lisa, are going to have to move the January 21st because that just won't work for this group. But we'll try to pick another date right around then in the morning.
Mornings might make it more flexible for us if we need to bring teachers in.
Oh, great. Okay, sounds good.
Thank you for your temporary flexibility.
All right, great. So superintendent's report.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate you all on your election, and I just think having the mayor for a second term, I think really brings stability to Newburyport, and the ceremony was just, I think, a great community event featuring a lot of our music students and really showcasing their talent. So I want to thank the mayor for allowing our students to be part of his celebration. Also welcome Mr. Ritchie, Mr. Ramo, to the school committee, and Juliet Walker being re-elected unanimously as the vice chair. So I think we have a lot of pieces in place to continue to move the district forward, and I truly appreciate everyone's support. And then also, I think there'll be a little bit maybe more collaboration with the school and the city having Member Hall and Member Callahan becoming city council. So I think it's good for the city of Newburyport. So congratulations, everybody. It was awesome. Our professional development day, I did send out the letter I sent out to the staff and kind of give you kind of the overview, but I also want to give a lot of credit to Lisa Furlong and Dr. Abrams and their leadership in organizing the PD Day. This began planning in the summertime, this summer, and it was really teacher-led in the sense of we brought a lot of our teacher leaders from the district that was part of the planning process. So our teacher leaders taking the lead and will be facilitating a lot of those sessions, which is going to be great. And then I want a special invitation for all school committee members if you want to join us from 8 to 9 Friday morning. We have the kickoff of the professional development day, and we do have some special things that are going to happen, but you know, I don't want to be a spoiler, so I can't give you the spoiler alerts. But if you do have time in the morning, we would love to have you attend 8 to 9, and it will be a great kickoff for our PD. And you know, we do a lot of the vertical alignment. A lot of the work that you heard about in the school improvement plans is going to be followed up, you know, throughout the day. It's going to be geared to really developing that roadmap of standards pre-K through 12. A lot of the content areas and teams of teachers will be meeting. The other piece that we added this is the working in partnership with the Day of AI group. So all staff, including the IAs, will engage in that workshop with them. And really the idea of the Day of AI is really to provide a baseline of really working with our faculty and support staff of what AI is and what it is not. And just really being proactive, ensuring that the staff is informed so we can begin to have those thoughtful conversations about the ethical and effective use of this tool in the classroom. So it's really the introduction for us to, as a group of educators, to kind of come together, being facilitated by MIT and that group. So we're excited about that. And then in the future weeks, we'll start to develop utilizing our teachers and support staff, and then also some community members on really forming like that subcommittee of AI, you know, as we move forward. But the goal for us first is to really introduce these tools, you know, to our faculty and support staff. So it's been a well-planned meeting, and there's a lot of work that went behind the scenes. Julia Olson working on our central office. You know, when you have over 300 faculty members that have to be at different rooms and classrooms throughout the district, there's a lot, you know, a lot of preparation. So thank you guys for that. But that's pretty much our superintendent's report. We're looking forward to a great day on Friday. As I said, you are all more than welcome to attend first thing in the morning. So.
Great. All right. Any questions for the superintendent? Yeah, I think that'll be one of our follow-ups. Maybe we can chat a little bit at the retreat about AI and what role our committee wants to play, because we've talked in the past about setting up some sort of special subcommittee or something to focus on AI discussions. So. Did you want to say something?
No, I was going to bring that up in new business, so thank you for mentioning that, because I don't think we can start soon enough, like yesterday. So I'll wait till the retreat, but no longer.
No longer, okay. Yeah, so that brings us to our new business items. One thing I'll just share is on the retreat, which is scheduled for our next regularly scheduled meeting. I know Member Higgins will not be there, but we'll miss you. But it's the 28th, is that right? Did I get the date right? Yes, 28th. Wednesday 28th, we'll be meeting at the NOC, right? At 5:30, starting at 5:30. We'll have a short business meeting in case there's anything we need to get done that's urgent, including if there's a warrant that we need to vote on and so forth. But then we'll move into the regular retreat. I talked a little bit about how we'll probably go through the norms and procedures kind of analysis, and then some goal setting, at least for the first part for the rest of this academic year. We've sort of been doing that in the past few retreats, just coming up with some goals as a school committee. If there's any other items that I'll send out an email reminder, but if there's anything else you definitely want to have on that on that agenda list, you can let me know. One of the things we also talked about doing is just a really quick Google training, make sure everybody knows how to access the Google Drive, where to save things, et cetera. And then the superintendent is also checking in with our legal counsel to provide a quick overview of some key legal issues and just get us all kind of up to speed. So those are the general agenda items, but as I said, if there's anything specific, we can certainly talk about that. We will provide pizza and drinks. Okay, and that's my new business. Any other new business items? All right. Well, thank you all. I know it was a lot tonight. Typically, we don't have quite as heavy agenda items, but we still, we're still at a decent, reasonable hour, although it's apparently after Dr. Abrams' bedtime. But I appreciate that. We don't typically have quite as heavy agendas, but we'll try to manage that a little better going forward. But because we only had one meeting this month, we really wanted to try to make sure we got a lot of things accomplished. So take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Just something quick. My last name, Aramo.
Aramo.
Say it again. Aramo.
Did I say it wrong too?
Everybody said it wrong.
Aramo.
Did I say it wrong?
Well,
Everybody says it wrong.
you got a little bit of Ricky Ritchie.
We got, and it's,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Ricky, right?